And I believe we're rolling. Hi, as you know, my name's King Fred, one quarter of the Vinyl Vandals. On my left or right, depending on which way you're looking at things, I have a fellow Vinyl Vandal who I'm sure you introduce yourself.
Yeah, I'm John. I'm another quarter of the Vinyl Vandals.
And below us, but definitely not below us in any other sense of the word, is I think I can say this. I think nobody can shoot us for this one. A UK legend of the hip hop scene. You introduce yourself.
Obviously, for anyone who recognizes me, my name is Blade. Basically, retired rapper, MC, producer, beatbox, whatever you want to, done a bit of everything. But yeah, that's it really. So
great. For those who've been following our little sort of lockdown, quarantined, Boris Johnson house arrest, sort of little podcasts, little YouTube clips that we've been doing. We, just as friends, we always talk about hip hop. Who's our favourite rappers from the UK? Who's our favourite groups from the UK? No advertising. Who's our favourite ones from the USA? Why do we like certain albums? Why don't we like other ones? We all like hip hop. We don't all like the same kinds of hip hop. I think that's fair to say as well. Some we all universally love certain albums, and other ones we don't like as much or we don't like at all. What I always say is, I hate some. Well, hate's probably a strong word. I don't always like some of the rap music that is out there, new and old. But everybody has a right to choose what they want. I just choose not to listen to it. I think that's fair to say. What we normally do when we do this show is we do the favourite five either USA or favourite 5 UK hip-hop albums that you have in your collection. We're doing a special today with Blade. Blade has already told us, I'm sure he'll talk about that he hasn't got all these records that he used to have. So he's just going to go through what he says is his favourite 5 rappers or acts from the UK in hip hop style, and same again for the USA. His favourite 5 rappers or acts from the USA from the hip hop community. And just to say, obviously, we started doing these because we were bored because of lockdown, and to help with our mental health. I think it's very important. I always mention that. I champion it as somebody who's suffered mental health from time to time myself. I think it's important to make sure that people understand that it can happen to people at any time, and it's good to talk, and it's also good to play music. I find that helps. If anybody wants to have a chat with us or talk about that at any time, they can. People have been encouraging us and sending us messages about that, saying it's helped them. And thanks for that, because it's encouraging to know that. We're not experts here. We're just muddling our way through and having fun as well. Okay. Anything you want to say, John?
No, just how we literally started this during lockdown.
Yeah.
And it was literally a couple of mates doing theirs, and then after a couple of weeks, we've got people like Blade coming to join us, which is like taking it from strength to strength. It's like, it's amazing how well it's been going. So first of all, thank you, Blade, for coming to join us here.
You're welcome. Anyone who knows me knows that I try and support whatever's out there. It doesn't matter how big, how little. You know what I mean? It's all about, everyone giving each other a little bit of a leg up, opportunities, because you never know where something can go.
Yeah.
We all have to start somewhere. And if people that were in a position or are in a position just keep ignoring the people that are trying, you're always going to be stuck on that one little level.
Yeah.
Every now and then you need that little extra. You know what I mean? And I don't for one second believe I'm that guy that can skyrocket you somewhere else, because there's going to be someone who can. But I guess another 6 people added to your viewers will help. And that could be my missus, my son, my other son, whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's all about just building, isn't it?
Yeah,
Exactly.
definitely is. And for us, we're not doing it for that. We're not, if we get 1,000 hits on one of our posts, great. if we get 20 people, we're doing little singing and dancing because 20 people have viewed the post in one day. That's great to us because that means that people are interested, and it's not just our missus or our brother or our sister or whatever, you know what I mean, or our best friend. It's people that are genuinely interested to hear what we've got to say, which is fantastic for us. So yeah, but enough about that, I suppose.
So basically, if you get 500. So if you get 500 viewers next week, then we expect to see some breakdancing. And if we get 1,000 the week after, there'll be some backflips and head spins. And
the world isn't ready for my body popping and breakdancing, I'm telling you now.
But not with my knee either. Knee chance.
take down your ornaments if you start seeing me popping. That's for sure. So yeah. For those who don't know, and there might be some people out there, Blade, who don't know who you are, because not everybody that tunes into this, because, you know, I've had friends messaging me who aren't really hip-hop fans. They like some rap music, as in rap, but they're not really hip-hoppers. And I don't want to go into the politics of what a hip-hop is and what it's not. But, you know, they're not in the scene like we are, if you know what I mean. They don't go to the shows and stuff like that. They have some on their collection, tends to be the more commercial stuff, but they're enjoying these talks and finding out about rap music and about hip-hop in general. Do you want to give them a little bit of a rundown of your biography, of your history? You know, I know you're talking about beatboxing.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, obviously. That's obviously, I used to be an artist back in the days, and I was obviously relevant back then. I'm not relevant now. I've been retired for a good 14, 15 years. I retired in 2006, walked away, started a CD manufacturing business, and that's what I've been doing all this time. Before that, I was pretty much known for, like, you know, basically standing on the street corners and selling my records, and that's how I got my reputation. I mean, even going further before that, you know, whenever there was talent competitions, whether it was at school events, or whether it was local events or events that were happening in and around London, you know, that's what we were doing. We were just going out there before we made any records and just getting our names out. In the way that we know, we used to know back then. We didn't have things like X Factor and Britain's Got Talent, you know what I mean? And that seems to be like the easy way for most people nowadays. Just enter a talent competition, get out. We did it the hard way. We slugged it out. We went out there in the rain, sleet, snow, with T-shirts and, you know. But yeah, in terms of who I am, I basically used to be a rapper, a professional rapper. I used to produce my own stuff as well as working with other producers. I used to beatbox, used to get involved a lot of the battling back in the days, and just ended up putting my records out independently, stood on the streets, sold them, then up the level and went to mail order, and then got distribution deals and stuff. Organized my own tours and everything, as well as other promoters like booking tours for us, and just kind of worked and, you know, built a reputation. Then everything went wrong for a little while. Distributors went bankrupt. My dad died. I had a son that was born in, you know, in the early 90s. Obviously avoiding saying the exact date. You never know who's watching. And yeah, just, you know, went quiet for a little while. Then I hooked up with Mark B and did an album called The Unknown. And, you know, we've done obviously other singles before that, but did the album called The Unknown, got into the charts. You know, my life changed a little bit from there. Yeah. You know, but my life really changed when I started the CD manufacturing business. That was the point where my life just skyrocketed to another dimension. Yeah. So yeah, but now I'm venturing into something different, so the CD business is kind of on the back burner for a little bit as well.
Okay. I was going to ask you about the CD business, because obviously the CD business, CDs are, well, a bit like they said with records, CDs are dying out, you know. So obviously you found that that's not a regular business anymore with the younger people and some of the other people with the MP3s now. You found that there's been a difference in the demand for CDs?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like, you know, a number of things have affected it. The thing that really affected it, I was noticing a change before lockdown, but I was still like having a lot of customers, right? You know, because like customers were still going and doing shows and hitting the streets and whatever else. But obviously when lockdown kicked in, all that changed. Everyone was basically on lockdown. So there was no one going out and, you know, so obviously the dynamics of everything just completely changed. You know it's different when calling your supplier, and your supplier is used to taking like an order for 20 or 50,000 CDRs off you for your business, but now then we can only send you 2,000 at a time.
Yeah.
You know, so you know there's limitations. I can't even order that many CDs anymore.
Right.
And you know that affects the business in terms of costing, because where I used to order 50,000 or 20,000, I was getting free shipping. Now every time I order 2,000, I have to pay shipping because it's under a certain amount.
Yeah.
So you know there's expenses there, and there's a you know backlash on everything. So as well as that, like you know, like you said, things are affected in the sense that customers don't need CDs as much. There are people who still remember my bulk of the business wasn't the full finished product.
Yeah.
We used to do a lot of those anyway, but it was the promos, and you know people still need promos constantly. But where people used to have promos where they used to order like 1,000 or 500 or 3,000 or 5,000, now they're ordering 50 and 100, maximum like the 300. You know, so there is a big change, and it's a change that obviously I'm looking at it and thinking, am I going to be an idiot and stay with this and hope it changes and gets better? Or am I going to do something different with my life?
Yeah.
So obviously from 2 years ago or 3 years ago, I started turning customers away to build on a new venture.
Yeah.
The venture I was working on, unfortunately, fell apart. You know, let's just put it down to egos.
Yeah.
And I moved on from that. And now I'm doing a different venture, which is something that I planned to do before, like the other venture I took on.
Yeah.
Obviously, because I was, you know, because my son was involved in the other venture, I put my own ideas and plans and schemes and whatever on the back burner to focus on something to help my son get into a career mode.
Okay.
So yeah, that's it. You know, so now I've got other plans.
Cool. I think just for me, you know, last year me and my wife were buying a car. She was getting a car and I was getting a car. And one of the things that we noticed when we're looking for cars is all these cars were just having like the, what do you call it? The
MP3
USB lead thing, you know, they wouldn't have, I was like, where's the CD player? I don't do them anymore. So the car I got, I mean, apart from that, I like the style of car, was mainly because it had a CD player as well, because I still want a CD player. Do you know what I mean? I'm not going to have all these CDs and not be able to play them. And then also when you're buying laptops now, they don't have CDs anymore. Do you know what I mean? You have to buy an external one to add onto it, you know, like an external drive thing with a CD on it. So, you know, you are noticing that sort of like trying to it feels like a bit like what they did with vinyl. They're sort of like trying to sort of eradicate people's use and saying it's because everybody's going to MP3, but it's to me, it feels as though they're sort of trying to force your hand. Like you haven't got much.
Yeah, and you know, we had this conversation the other day where I said about like, you know, it's almost like the new generation is trying to delete the history that was there before them.
Yeah.
And their own history. You know, so, you know, if we want CD players, you know, we have to kind of stop for a minute and just look at it like, are we gonna just put CD players in our cars because of nostalgia or because this is what we like?
Yeah.
Or are we just fighting what's going on and trying to keep something alive that maybe isn't gonna survive? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So for me personally, I mean, it's like, because of what I do, I'm always on the computer. So if I'm looking for a track and I want to find it quick, I'll just type it into Google and it's there. But, you know, I mean, I gave my vinyl away because it was taking up too much space and I needed the space for other things.
Yeah.
I mean, I wish I could do the same with my belly because then there would be quite a lot of space in the room. But, you know, but yo, look, it's not that bad. It's gone down quite a lot. I mean, it only turns bad when you go, you know, like when we used to do the Unknown tour. Or when I was doing any shows, on the end of the first line of "You Don't See the Signs," it was like, you can bring RoboCop, Terminator, Superman, Batman, but none of them can handle this madman. I used to be like, you can bring RoboCop, Terminator, Superman, Batman, but none of them can handle this fat man. But no, I mean, yo, the belly's only big when it's pushed out now, which is good.
Fair enough. I suppose before we move on, then what I would also say though is that's what they said about records. If you remember, when Sony got the blame, Sony was saying that records were dead and they weren't going to be making record players anymore. Now, when you're looking for records, you know, you've got, you know, I'm going into shops and I'm seeing young people, young people going and buying records again. Do you know what I mean? The records weren't around, in their time. They obviously saw about records, saw off their parents or whatever like that, and saw them, people talking about them, and they're buying records again. So CDs might come back, just like records. And you've got people buying records again. You can go on to eBay, you go on to Amazon, you can go on to Discogs, and people are buying records in truckloads of records again. Records are moving, and they're hot currency as well. So yes, some people are stubborn like me. I had no room either. I had to stash them in my dad's loft in my dad's room. But they're there again now, and I've got them back out again. I'm playing them again. But I've also got loads of CDs as well. So things come back as well. And I also know cassettes are selling. Shout out to RPM. A record shop in Newcastle. They're selling cassettes. And there's a big market for them.
I mean, look, I work in the manufacturing business, and I get people constantly asking me for vinyl. But the thing, when we were manufacturing vinyl back in the days, we were manufacturing minimum when times were tight, we were manufacturing like 5,000 as the first run.
Yeah.
Other times I'm doing 20,000 for the first. And now it's like you get people, even people with big names. Like I'm talking people that used to sell millions, like coming and asking if I know anyone who can manufacture like 3,000 vinyl. Yeah. I'm thinking, wow, you guys used to sell 7 million.
Yeah.
Now you're selling 3,000. You know what I mean? So it's crazy. But then I get other people with big names coming in and saying, I only need 50. So from an outside perspective, say someone like you as a buyer, as the end product buyer, user, whatever, you might see it like, okay, once the record's in the shop, there are people out there who are buying it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But from a manufacturer's point of view, I'm seeing small quantities being made.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah.
So, and, so vinyl was basically something I didn't want to get into manufacturing because, you start a project and there's nothing worse than sitting there waiting for 4 months, knowing that 4 months later, you're going to be chasing to see if everything's on schedule. Yeah. And there's going to be so many jobs backlogging off of each other. You're like, Jesus, I'm a one-man outfit. I mean, the other guys that are here just pack the CDs and deliver them. Yeah. Or burn the CDs or whatever. Have I got the time to sit here and wait for 4 months to remind myself that I've got to chase this project and that project? Yeah. So I didn't want to deal with that, so I stayed away from vinyl.
Fair enough. Okay, I think we can. We'll come back. We'll come back to some more of your history. We'll keep on. We'll intertwine that with when we're talking about your favorite rappers and stuff. But it's interesting. I'm sure people at home are interested to hear what you're saying because to me, I'm fascinated by it all. So we'll definitely come back to it. Is there anything you want to say, John, before we move on?
No, it's just it's interesting hearing it from a different perspective because obviously you and me, we're the buyers.
Yeah.
Manufacturing, anything like that, production-wise, anything like that. It's something. It's fascinating, but it's something I actually don't know about. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
So, but it's nice to hear like from the flip side. Yeah. So, like you said, someone will buy 3,000 bits now where they used to buy millions, what have you. Yeah. So it's basically the market's just changed considerably. But I think now, especially with things like vinyl, it's almost became like I think it was the hipster kind of guys who started making it cool again. And from then on, it's just, well, you go to a local record shop now, even HMV, half the shop is now vinyl. So it's getting there. And I think it will eventually, we'll get the same hype of what used to be, but it's definitely like getting back up there. And I think the quality as well, there's something about the sound of a bit of vinyl rather than the CD or an MP3, which it's just there, I think.
I think for me, it's the visual though, when something's just in the air and it comes out of the speaker, it's not the same as actually seeing the record going around and the stylus or the needle, whatever you want to call it, going.
And a big inlay to read as well.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, there's so many different aspects to it though. Like when you go into a record shop back in the days, like a record shop was a record shop.
Yeah.
Then as time went on, record shops became record shops that stocked CDs as well.
Yeah.
Obviously, they're not going to be able to stock MP3s because you get those online. Yeah. But what's happened is, as MP3s has got more and more sort of in the marketplace, CDs have gone less and less in the marketplace. Yeah. So what that's done is for anyone who wants more of the visual, they're going for the vinyl. Yeah. But like I said, from a manufacturer's point of view, the like, let me put it this way: from a manufacturer's point of view, when you go into your RPMs and wherever, and you see the vinyl, all you do is you look at loads of vinyl and go, "Wow, half the shop is vinyl." Yeah, but if you go in there, you'll probably see 2 copies of, like, I don't know, Blade, 2 copies of Stereo MCs, 2 copies of, you see what I'm saying? So in terms of artists, there's not that much manufacturing going on for each individual artist, but there's just a lot more artists that are trying to do the cool thing and put out a vinyl. You know what I mean? So you're seeing more product from, like, and also remember back in the days when we were artists, there wasn't that many artists. I mean, there was a lot of artists, but everybody's an artist now.
Yeah.
Seriously, I'm pretty sure the other day, 3 o'clock in the morning, I heard some wailing out in the thing, and I thought, hold on, someone's trying to rap and they're just not doing a good job. I looked out and there was a cat out there going meow, 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 meow. You know what I mean? I'm sure the cat's got a vinyl out in the shop at RPM as well, you know.
All right, then. Which one do you want to start with first, then, Blade? Do you want to start with UK or USA?
Let's start with UK. Let's start with the UK.
So we'll go with the UK first.
Yeah.
Which artists do you want to? Do you want me to mention them and then you talk about them?
Yeah, you mention them.
What's that? Sorry.
Yeah, you mention them.
Okay. So the first one I've got on your list, that one we talked the other day when we were preparing for this show. Shout out to James, by the way, James Watson, who runs a Darlington forum. He helped set this up, so shout out to him. The first person you mentioned was the Demon Boys.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to talk about the Demon Boys? What's it about them why you rate them so highly?
Yeah, I mean, for me, like, I mean, all of the artists I'm talking about here, they came with a certain energy.
Yeah.
And everyone had their own unique energy. There might have been a couple of similarities here and there, but like for me, the Demon Boys, they just kind of personified what was going on a street level for me personally.
Yeah.
It was like, yo, we're kids. We want to set ourselves on our futures. We're going all out for it. We're not going to work. We're going to make music. And, you know, the work was their music. Do you know what I mean? It's not like, you know, they weren't, when I saw someone like Demon Boys, I saw this hunger that I was like, yo, I don't need to get a job working at Tesco's or Sainsbury's or whatever. I can do this and make a living. Mm-hmm. And when I saw Demon Boys, I just saw these young kids and I was like, wow, there's something about them that just makes me feel like, yo, it's like, even though I was an artist myself at the time, they came on vinyl before me.
Yeah. So
when I saw that, you know, and it's the same with one of the American artists I'm going to mention as well later. But when I saw what they were doing, I was like, yo, if they can do this, I can do this. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And like just the whole energy, it's like, you know, at times you would hear kind of like a reggae vibe. And I used to go to a lot of house parties where they used to play a lot of reggae and stuff as well. You know, so that reggae vibe to me was all in there. I mean, there was only a couple of reggae records that I personally bought myself because, you know, that wasn't my thing. But I used to go to a lot of house parties back in the days where there was a lot of reggae played.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so when I heard Demon Boys and when they had that kind of whole vibe going on as well, it was just like, wow, they've mixed it with, you know, all the stuff that I'm hearing from America that is just raw rap, but they've just added a twist to it. And then obviously they came out with the doubling of the words.
Yes.
You know, which for me, before I heard them, I'd already written Lyrical Maniac. So when I heard that, I was like, because, you know, on my own, I was like Lyrical Maniac, Lyrical. And, you know, I'd start the last word. Sorry, I'd start the next line with the last word of the last line before it. Yeah. So when I heard that, I was like, damn, they've done it. and then obviously we started hearing, what's the name of that? Daz Effects doing that diggity style. And I just thought, wow, you just taking that straight off of Demons. So to me, that just showed that the Americans are now listening. So there was a whole different level of, when I heard Demons, I mean, for me, one of the proudest moments in UK hip hop history was seeing Demon Boys on Night Network. You know what I mean?
So for those who don't know, because Night Network, what's Night Network?
Right, Night Network was a TV show that Tim Westwood used to put on. Okay. And on around 3-4 o'clock in the mornings on a Saturday, I think it was. I don't remember.
That must only been in London because we didn't have it up here, did we, John?
No, we didn't.
We didn't have it up here. So
okay.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe they had something against Newcastle, but you know.
Everybody does.
I know.
But yeah, so Tim Westwood used to have this show on called Night Network, and I saw Demon Boys on there. And bro, when I say, like, when I heard they were coming out of this, like scrambling around asking all my friends, yo, Demon Boys, have you got a VHS recorder I can borrow? I've got a player, I ain't got a recorder, I need to record it, you know what I mean? And I was scrambling all over the place because I'm a fan. I used to buy all their records and everything.
Yeah.
I mean, Demon Boys is one of those groups. There's a few UK groups that every time they put something out, I'd rush out to buy it.
Yeah.
You know, because I was a fan as well as an artist. I wasn't one of these artists that was just like, yo, it's all about me. And you know what I mean? I did like to support what was going on.
It's refreshing to hear that.
I had my standards.
I've talked to some artists. It's refreshing to hear because, you know, I go to London a lot and I've spoken to some artists on here, like on the internet. And I've spoken to them in the flesh, and sometimes you speak to them, or I've seen them get interviewed, and they'll say who you're rating, and they'll say they don't rate anybody in there from their scene. It's like, you know, they must do. You can't tell me that you're not listening to other artists and saying, well, they don't like any of the artists. And I always feel that's a bit depressing because it's like, you're not even proud of where you're from. You don't support any of the people that are, you know, like, it's refreshing to hear that you're saying that you rated people, you know, that were your competitors in a way. You know what I mean? They were vying for the same market as you, but you didn't see them like as being competition, or maybe you did.
I never saw any of the other artists as competition.
Yeah.
I mean, I just saw them as, you know, we're fellow artists. We're all trying to, you know, do what we do, make ends meet, get somewhere in life with this. Hopefully things can happen. And yeah, I mean, the only time I saw any artist as competition, I had the mentality of a boxer. Yeah. Like, me and you can talk and be friends, be at the bar and having drinks and whatever, but when we get the ring, it's me or you.
Yeah, spot on.
As soon as that job is done, I'm still hugging you and saying, you know, well done, whatever. Yeah. I don't care who won, who lost, just, you know, well done. And then I'll be back in the shop the following day buying another record from them.
Cool.
You know what I mean? Or if I couldn't afford the record, I'd sneak it into my bag when no one's looking. But, you know, that's another story. But yeah, in terms of Demon Boys, I like them so much. I mean, there was other groups there. Like I remember going to Phase One show. You know what I mean? And I was just blown away. And I became friends with a couple of the guys from Phase One. We used to call them all the time. This is before. This is when they were signed and they were artists. And it was a couple of years before I got my first record out. Yeah. But you know, when I introduced myself, I stood there and I was telling them what I do, and I beatboxed a little. Next minute, we exchanged numbers and we became friends. You know, so, but yeah, Demon Boys, I remember going to one of their shows that they did, and I believe it was in Tottenham. And I went to the show, and I must have been the only non-black person there. I was like, and I went on my own. I usually went places on my own, and, you know, if I met people that were there that knew me, then I just met people that were there. And I remember Mike J was constantly walking past me when he was performing, and I'm there constantly grabbing his jacket and his jeans and trying to get his attention, and you know what I mean, and just constantly tugging, and you know what I mean, and it's like he just didn't pay attention. It's just like, dude, what are you doing, kind of thing, you know what I mean? And then years later, when I was doing my CD business, we talked for the first time, because up to then we hadn't really spoken, and we talked for the first time, and I reminded him of that show, and I said to him, do you remember that? And he was like, yeah, I think so. Do you know what I mean? I don't remember if he remembered it or if he just said he remembered it or whatever. But he was, I was like, bro, that was me. He goes, seriously, what were you doing, man? I was trying to get me on stage to rap. I was going to be on stage, man. Come on. You know?
So, out of the two albums, which one album do you prefer?
I prefer Recognition for me. Right. Okay. Recognition. I just think like every track on that was, you know, it's one of those albums where you can play back to back. Yeah. You know what I mean? When they performed Rougher Than an Animal on Night Network, you know, that for me was just like, wow. Do you know what I mean? Okay. Yeah, it was just, I mean, to be honest, I haven't listened to any of these records that I'm going to talk about for years. Yeah. So I might, you know, everything might not be clear in my head anymore. You know what I mean? Like, I'm getting older and probably a bit senile. I don't even know who I'm talking to right now. But yeah, so I will just try and obviously remember what I do remember and discuss what I remember. But there are certain things I remember, like going to that show in Tottenham, trying to get Mike J's attention, trying to jump up on stage and do something. But you know, because that's what we did generally, you know. But yeah, for me, like the energy, what Demon Boys had for personally was like, you know, they were obviously, I saw them as hip hop, but they also added the whole reggae vibe, which was a different vibe to what anyone else was doing at the time.
Yeah.
Apart from maybe London Posse, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You know, but for me, it's like the music that Demon Boys were doing was more aggressive, more in your face, more. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah.
So like, if I had to pick between the two, I would say Demon Boys for me more.
Okay.
You know, but that said, it's like, you know, I think Bionic for me was just ridiculously like talented. Both of them were, but for me, like the whole accent that Bionic doing was just mental. It was like, what is this guy doing? It's like there's everyone trying to be American, and my man's going on about dog and bone and all shit.
Yeah, no, spot on. Anything you want to say, John?
So.
I was just going to say, it's like when you, I think, especially with the Demon Boys, the second album, what was it called again? Original Guidance, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Original Guidance.
Yeah, I think
well,
it was Original Guidance. I'm pretty sure it was.
Yeah. Obviously, how you were saying, it's like how they have their own style, and it's like how they were infusing reggae. I remember it was probably, I can't remember the track, it was probably the last track on the album.
Yeah.
It was like a drum and bass jungle track, and I went, that was the first time I heard, I went, what's this? So that's how I mean, I'm not a massive jungle or drum bass fan, but they introduced me into that, like a new form genre of music. I was like, and I think,
to be honest, that was the thing is, I'd already heard jungle music, and you know what I mean. I'd already been in studio in London with certain people. Like I think it was Omar's brother was engineering for me, and he was working with, I think it was Natty. I forget who he was working with, but it was one of the old guys. I forget anyway. But anyway, he was engineering my sessions and stuff, and we spent like about half an hour just listening to some of the stuff he'd been working on. And he was doing all the jungle stuff as well. And so I'd heard jungle music before then. So when I mean, it wasn't for me. So when I heard Demon Boys doing it, for me, it was kind of like, why are they doing that? Rather than, yo, that's sick. Do you get what I mean? Because I already knew that was a different genre. So like in our days, it's like if you were hip hop, it's like you weren't allowed to do anything else.
Yeah.
And otherwise you get bottled off the stage. You know, I mean, look at the LL Cool J as an example. I Need Love, and you know, he got bottled off the stage.
Reading the Hip Hop Connection, and there was, I can't remember which writer it was for Hip Hop Connection, but they wrote a scathing article about the Demon Boys album and heading towards that, and really slagging off Mike West, aka Rebel MC.
That's who I'm talking about, Mike West. There you go.
Yeah.
There, it was Mike West when we were at the studio, and I forget what the studio was called in London. Noise Gate.
Right.
Noise Gate was the studio, and Mike West owned Noise Gate.
Right. Okay.
So they were already doing the jungle thing.
Yeah, well, I remember just they were really slagging him up, saying he's poisoned the Demon Boys. It was something along those lines, and one Hip Hop Connection basically saying, he's a dodgy character, and you know he shouldn't be allowed in hip hop kind of thing, and all of this. And I was like, well, actually, I like it. You know, and I'm going to London and I'm listening to it. I don't know what it is because it didn't have a name yet, but you know, I just love that kind of like, you know,
it was the energy. The energy was just good.
Yeah.
Like, you know what? Like, let me explain it this way. Like, when we were kind of growing up and we were watching how things were changing in hip hop, what was happening is bit by bit we started seeing the people that grew up in hip hop slowly disappearing into different scenes, and we were kind of like, what's going on? And then we started realizing, hold on, these people are getting fed up of all the lovey-dovey, slower types of songs and whatever. Yeah. You know, like there was a lot of people getting fed up of like your leaders of the new school or nicer, smooth sound and whatever, and they were moving into the more harder drum and bass and junglist and whatever, and that's where everyone went to.
Yeah.
So then as the days go on and everything, you start hearing people like the Prodigy producing, and you're looking at them like, okay, they've come out with this new sound, they're doing whatever they're doing, but you know what? They're all big hip hop fans. They're sampling nothing but hip hop like we used to. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? These guys are all hip hop fans.
Yeah.
You know, so a lot of the music that's out there now, hip hop is responsible for.
Facts.
You know, like, so yeah, so this is what I'm saying. It's like but I don't, the thing is, yeah, I don't know if I would say Mike West Poison, whatever. He just did his own thing.
Oh yeah.
And you know, and I don't know if we can slag off Demon Boys for trying to do a junglist thing. They were trying something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it just wasn't my personal cup of tea. What I liked them for was what they were doing on Recognition, and you know what I mean, on Rougher Than an Animal, and From the North Side, and you know what I'm saying? They were just sick tunes, you know. And yeah, it was just the whole energy, you know. And I've recently, in all these years, I've never met DJ Devastate. And last year, to meet him at a barbecue, yeah, we was like humbled, met him, and we had a little conversation. And some of the things he said, I said, whatever. Do you know what I mean? It was really good. So yeah, wicked.
Nice one. So that's the Demon Boys. Next on your list is Hijack.
Yeah, I mean, what can you say about Hijack? Yeah, see, for me, like when I was doing what I was doing, and I was building an idea of what I was going to do, I was thinking about imagery and all that kind of stuff. And you know, I didn't realize I was going to be on the dole for so long that I had to hide my face. So I was constantly not showing my face on record covers. So that was my image. You know what I mean?
Oh,
or if I was showing my face, it was part of like 20 of us. So you know what I mean?
yeah.
But yeah, when Jack came in, it's like, first of all, the music was just on some other level. The rhyming was I mean, you can't really say anything bad about what they were doing. You know, Supreme's production was just off the charts. K-Sly's rhyming was off the charts. It was, you know, if anything, the comments that I used to hear from people was the American accent thing. But who cares? What he was doing was amazing.
Okay.
It was incredible. Do you know what I mean? And to top it off, it's like, look at the imagery they brought into the game.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the imagery was just sick. Do you know what I mean? It's like, it was worth paying like your money to go to the shows and then some to go in and see what these guys were doing. Do you know what I mean? So when I remember I'd already started doing my demos and stuff, and I went round to my friend's place on East Street in Elevator Castle.
Mm-hmm.
And I took my demo. It's the guy who introduced me to Covent Garden in the 82 period and whatever. And 8 years later or 7 years later, or whatever it was, 88 when we did the demos for it. So I went over and I basically walked in. He's there with Ricky, and I'll never forget this. And I'm like, yo, I got my demo. You know what I mean? All proud, like I've got my demo and everything. And I said, I'm going to go in the studio and mix it down properly. And we didn't have the money yet. And we were trying to find ways to get the money. And anyway, then Ricky pulls out this record and he goes, have you heard of these guys? And it was Hijack. And I heard it and I thought, fuck me. I was like, wow. But the thing is, for me, I was just like blown away. I was like, yo, these guys, oh my God, blam. Do you know what I mean? And I was just like, wow. It's like, they've obviously got money behind them. We haven't got that. How are we going to compete? Whatever. And then I put on my demo. I was kind of like reluctant because we still hadn't finished mixing or anything. Yeah. And then I put on my demo, and both of them were like, oh my God, this is sick. Do you know what I mean? And then when that was Lyrical Maniac. Then I played We're Going Independent. And they were like, yo, oh my God, bam, whatever. And, you know, we worked quite fast after that. You know what I mean? Because we realized we're onto something. Yeah. And then when The Coming Is Near, when we played The Coming Is Near, they were like, damn. And both of them were breakers. Yeah. So both of them were like, shit, I want to get out into the yard and break. I want to get out. So that's when I thought, raw, there's me looking at, like, listening to the new Hijack record and hearing Hijack and thinking, shit, I got to go back to the drawing board. And there's these two breakers going, fucking hell, you're just as good as they are. And do you know what I mean? So, do you know what I mean? As an artist, you kind of feel like maybe, you know, when you hear some, like if you're a graffiti artist and you do a piece and then you're going off to show your friends and they're showing you some ridiculous graffiti from someone else, you're going to be like, oh shit. Yeah. But then they see your piece and they're like, yo, yours is just as good. Right. That to you is just like, hold on, maybe I am ready.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But yeah, I just remember that day, that feeling of like being blown away, like thinking, who the fuck are these guys? I mean, knowing that I'd already met one of the guys and we'd spoken about him being my DJ.
Right.
So I'm going to say this because at some point I might do it as a little competition and see if anyone gets it. So I'm not going to give the answer, but yeah, basically one of the guys in the crew, we'd already discussed the possibility of being my DJ, and I lost his number, he lost my number, and it wasn't until I started making records he goes, "Remember me?" So yeah, one of Hijack's crew was potentially going to be my DJ in the early days, before Hijack, before Blade, before any of that.
Good stuff. A little
So
vinyl
yeah,
band
Hijack just
there. Nice one. Okay, just one.
and also, sorry, I was going to say, and also don't forget, like, the doors that Hijack opened up. Not only did they create a sound that everybody wanted to emulate and become like and whatever, but they also showed us what was possible in terms of, like, wow, a group's getting signed by the Americans.
Yeah.
So now we're looking at it like, hold on, maybe this can happen to us. Maybe the doors are open. Maybe the channels are there for us to travel and get heard us to the ocean. And you know, it's not the case we walk into record stores and pick up all these American vinyls, but they don't have a clue who we are. They now started to know who we were.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So later, when I'm starting to meet people like Ultramagnetics and KRS-One, and they've heard of me, I'm like, rah.
Right.
You know what I mean? What's going on? These guys know me. It's like, you know, you just don't imagine that that's going to happen, but it happened. So.
Nice one.
Yeah.
Okay. Any questions, John?
I was going to say, especially like with Hijack, it's one of my favorite album covers ever. It's just the how it's like.
Definitely.
It looks like it's like the underground somewhere with the masks on and everything like that. But just what you said there about like with Ultra, it's like American artists. Did you meet them in the UK, or was it from? Have you been over the States, and have you ever considered? Has there been any work with American artists, possibly?
That's probably a conversation for when I go on to the Americans.
Yeah.
Right.
That's probably a conversation for when we get onto the Americans.
Okay. Right.
It probably makes sense to do that, isn't it?
Yeah. Okay. Right. I'll shut up.
But yeah, I mean, look. Thing is, Hijack. You can't say anything bad about Hijack. And you know, all I can say is trendsetters. They brought something very, very fresh, new, energetic. I mean, you know, I don't know what steroids them guys were on, but whatever it was, I wanted some.
I was a bit confused because I never saw them live. Yeah. We were just talking about this the other day. Who was I talking about this the other day? How many was in the group? Was there 5 or 4 in the group? So
I mean, for me, you know what? I never, because like when I see them, sometimes there was 7, 8 of them. So to me, I was a bit like, you know, who's actually in the group? I know Undercover's there.
Yeah.
You know, I know Supreme's there, and I know K Sly's there. Yeah. Then you had Ulysses. Then you had Agent. You know what I mean? What was it? What was his name? I forget the second part of the name. Anyway,
2 agents. As far as I know, there was 2 agents. And I can't remember their names now.
Right, but what I'm saying though is, like, when you had, say, someone like Public Enemy, you had the S1Ws, but they weren't really in the group. They were just there for the tour. Do you understand? So I don't know who was like specifically in Hijack. All I know was shows Agent. The agents were there. All of that stuff was there. But all I know is Supreme, Undercover, like. And like I said, with Ulysses, I think he was more for the shows and the covers and stuff, rather than being part of the studio process. But I don't know the specifics because I've never actually asked. I've never stopped to think about it.
Yeah.
I mean,
I found out.
What?
DJ Supreme, Comanche Slide, DJ Undercover, Agent Fritz, Ulysses, and Agent Clouseau.
Agent Clouseau, that's
right. There you go. Agent Fritz is the one I was thinking of, and Agent Clouseau, obviously. And so, but yeah, so I don't, other than the live performances, don't know what their role was in the studio part. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. So do you consider them as part of the group, as like, do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like Blade was Blade and Renegade was my DJ, but we weren't really a group as such.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, it's like Blade existed before Renegade came on board to do the scratching.
Yeah.
And I had producers I was working with, so Blade was always a solo artist, but most people would look at it like Blade and Renegade.
Yeah.
Do you get what I'm saying? And it's not like in any way trying to downplay anybody or whatever.
Yeah.
But the reality is, it's like how much work was going on by whoever was in the group to those who were just on the outside, just coming in and doing their little bit.
The reason why I'm asking is just because I've never got to the bottom of it, and I'm a hip hop nerd. I just like to know stuff, and you know, I just often wonder, like, even how the two DJs work together in the group. You know, that kind of like, how does that work when you have DJ Supreme and DJ Undercover? How did that work? You know, it's just interesting. That's all. It's not a.
Well, I mean, we all know that obviously Supreme was on the production, so we know that he was doing the production as well as the DJing. Yeah. But yeah, in terms of like the actual DJing, you know, I've seen them on stage, and I've seen both of them on the turntables. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, it's a hard one. I think that's a question that you need to ask them to get pure clarification, because I don't know the answers. You know what I mean?
If he's watching, Hijack, would love to speak to you about this.
I think a lot of people like that. I think a lot of, you know, the funny thing is, like I said, it's not something we've ever stopped to think about. We just look at it like Hijack. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And we haven't stopped to think, what is everyone's role in it? Yeah. And all we care about is that they came out and they made like some of the most amazing records. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean?
I was always good at another album. That was me, that thing as well. Like, you know, I always wish they'd done more than one album. And I think that's a bit of it's a subject I want to talk about at some point with you, but I always feel a bit, you know, cheated by some of the British acts. I do get it, but, you know, money wasn't there for them and stuff like that. But you only ever seem to get one album from most of the British artists. There's only you and a couple of others that did more than one or even two.
Can I say something to that though? Yeah. Money wasn't for me either, bro. Well, that's no real excuse.
That's fair enough. Yeah.
Well, that's no real excuse. I'm not slagging the other acts off, but it was just, you know, how much do you want this? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, like I said, the money wasn't.
I'm sorry.
The money wasn't there for any of us.
Yeah.
You know, we had to, like, you know, unless you were signed, like let's use Hijack as an example, or even Demon Boys. Demon Boys was signed to Music of Life. Hijack was signed to Ice-T's label. You know, so I mean, at some point, the labels would probably go, you know what, we're not making the money back, or we're not getting the result that we're looking for. You're gonna have to go your separate ways, and then the money's not there anymore. And you know, at some point, you're gonna have to kind of get up and go, look, what am I gonna do to go to the next stage? Yeah. You know, and for me, it was always a case of, I ain't looking for no one to help me. I'm just gonna do it. Yeah, you know what I mean? And I guess that's why I ended up putting out material. I mean, you know, I had a choice. Do I buy a £600 Averex jacket, or do I go studio? I'm going studio. You can keep your jacket.
Respect. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No, I get that. I suppose it's just when you've got your, you know, as a fan, again, you know, we're fans here as well. We often, one of the reasons why we started doing these recordings, we're often talking about, like, you know, like who the goats are of the UK scene, for instance, you know, and we talk about, obviously your name always comes up, you know, and that's not just because you're here, that's because it comes up. And one of the things I always talk about is you know, and quality is a thing, but how many albums did people put out and how many singles did people put out? Because, you know, a lot of the artists that we like from the UK scene only ever put one album out, you know, at the very most, you know. You know, you can go through the list and look at some of them. London Posse, 1 album. Demon Boys, 2 albums. Gunshot, 4, 5 albums. Yourself, a number of albums. Black Twang, a number of albums. Hijack, 1 album. Mellow, 1 album. You know, was Mellow 1 album? I think it's 1 album. I've only got 1 album by him anyway.
I think it's only 1.
I think it was 1.
There's quite a few when you had.
But I know Mellow had another album there, but it never came out. So you know, I'd like to say he had more, but obviously for public consumption, there was just 1. Yeah, yeah.
And I always feel a bit cheated because of that, because I always wanted more from a lot of them that I liked, and I like quite a few of the British artists. You know what I mean? And I do like to listen to them. I've been listening to a lot more recently because of doing these as well, and because of lockdown. And I was just feel a bit, you know, like gutted that there was nothing else after that, because I wanted to know how far they could have took it. But that's just me being greedy. Yeah. You know.
I mean, look. You know what? Some of them were just not able to. It's as simple as that. You know what I mean? Sometimes I would see it as some of them didn't even have the knowledge on how to.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, so when I remember there was groups coming up to me and asking me how I went about and did the whole independent thing, and can I give them my helping hand? And you know, there was loads of groups I helped sell their records to distributors and stuff. And I told them how to go. You know, I introduced them to the studios, to the manufacturers, to whoever. So you know, the number of groups, including people in the junglist and the drum and bass scene. You know, the number of people that I used to meet on the street going, where do you get your records done? What's the process? What happens? And you know what I mean? And I used to stop on the streets and talk to other artists. You know, I did that with you know, I remember talking to, you know, one of the guys from Prodigy. I won't say which one. And we were just talking, and you know, they gave me a copy of their record. I gave them a copy of mine, and you know what I mean. And we had a conversation about, you know, how I went about doing everything the year before. Next time I see them, they've got a record in their hand, and they go, here you go. You know what I mean? So, do you know what I'm saying? But I didn't even know who they were at the time. It was just, you know, and it was amazing to just watch what they did and what they achieved and all that. But like I said, there were so many groups that, you know, there were so many artists. Like they used to come to my flat in New Cross and sit down and talk. And we used to just talk about the whole process. What you do is, but then when I'm talking to certain people, I can already see that, you know, if I tell them something, some of the stuff scares them. Shit, you mean I got to put my own money into this? And that's where a lot of people say, I got to put my own money into this. You know, and people don't. The thing is, like I said, I was surrounded by a lot of people that were happy to spend $1,000 on a jacket, but they weren't happy to spend £500 on their studio cost. And that was the difference with me and a lot of people.
That's fair enough.
You know, so. You know, and you know, so where I've got 4 albums to my name and a number of singles and collaborations and whatever, it didn't happen because, you know, I was scared to go and put money into myself. I put everything I had into myself. You know, so yeah.
So next on the list, unless John's got anything to ask it.
No, just fascinating.
Next on the list is Gunshot.
My first encounter with Gunshot, we were in Walthamstow, and we were getting ready to go to, I think it was Cardiff, to do a show. And we were there. We had 2 coaches, and the coaches were packed. It was our show. You know, we just filled a couple of coaches. And back then, fans used to be like, "Yeah, I'm down. Let's go." You know what I mean? Everyone paid their coach fare, and they turned up at the shows, and it was sick. It was just such a good vibe all the way up there, all the way back, and in between, you know. And I was in McDonald's, and these 2 guys come up to me. I'm dressed like I am on the back of Lyrical Maniac. These 2 guys came to me and go, "Are you part of that crew, Blade?" You know what I mean? So, you know, and they were like, "Yeah, you know," it's like, "Yo, 6 single, whatever." You know what I mean? Little did I know that was Gunshot. You know what I mean? And yeah, bro, it's like, oh, I mean, I've been when I heard Crime Story, when I heard, it wasn't Crime Story, it was Battle Creek Brawl, the first one. When I Battle Creek Brawl, as soon as I heard it on Westwood Show, I think it was, I forget who it was that played it, but I heard it, and the next day I was in the record shop in Deptford buying it. And the guy he was like, never heard of it. And I was like, you need to order him in. You need to order him in. And I was pushing it, you know. So anyway, he had a couple of copies. I bought one, and I got my friend to buy the other one. Got him to come with me. And the guy's going, "Oh, so these guys are good." It's like, "Yeah, these guys are sick. You know, listen to the record, blah, blah." And then next minute, my man's like ordering Gunshot on a regular basis because he knew every time they were putting out a record, I was there buying it. You know, and as well as that, for me, Crime Story was the first video I saw from a UK hip hop act. You know, before that, I was seeing Demon Boys on Night Network, but I wasn't seeing their videos. You know what I mean? But when I heard Crime Story, it's like by this time, even though they came after me, they'd done their video before me. You know what I mean? But yeah, the whole energy, again, like Hijack, they had this whole visual thing locked down. They had their sound locked down. What they did was kind of like a mixture of Hijack and Demon Boys. So they had their sound, which was the hard hitting sound like Hijack, but then they had that kind of reggae vibe going on as well. You know, with Barry B. You know what I mean? Sorry, not Barry B. Alkaline. Was it Alkaline? Yeah, it was Alkaline.
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, they just had this sound that basically transcended from hip hop to a reggae vibe, and then, you know what I mean, it came right back to hip hop, but it was raw, dirty, grimy, and spoke the language.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Quite often, it's like I would listen to them, and sometimes I'd find it hard to hear what they were saying.
Yeah.
I guess more particular when Q Rock was rhyming rather than Mercury.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I was struggling to hear some of the words and whatever back then, but I didn't care. It's just like, yo, that just works. It's like it was intended to be like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So yeah, it was sick. And like I basically from then on, I made an effort to go and buy everything that was gunshot related. I wasn't really into buying merchandise. You know what I mean? I was more into making merchandise and selling it myself, but I wasn't into buying merchandise. So I wasn't really buying merchandise, but I was buying records and whatever. And I was also, like, when I could, I was going to shows. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think I remember when Gunshot did a show at Fordham Park in New Cross, and I was supposed to be performing, but the person who was supposed to be looking at my son didn't turn up. So I'm there with my son in a pushchair. You know what I mean? And I'm like, they're calling out my name, Blade, you need to be stayed. I'm like, Grant, my DJ turned up, my babysitter ain't turned up, nobody's turned up. Fuck this. So I ended up not doing the show. But yeah. But yeah, no, again, like same as it's kind of like a mixture of Hijack and Demon Boys really with Gunshot. They had the whole sound, they had the energy, the power, they spoke to the youth, probably more than the others.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't know. For me,
I remember.
I think because.
Go on, sorry. I remember, like, obviously.
I was gonna say, I think because. Sorry, I was gonna say, I think because they had more of a body of work, so you got to know them more. We got to grow with them, and so they eventually ended up speaking to more people. Maybe even if not in the early days where Hijack was making enough noise all over and whatever, but. I traveled a lot to Europe, and like basically the noise that Blade and Gunshot were making was just next level.
Just going to say that.
Everywhere we went, it was Blade and Gunshot.
Yeah, that's just what I was going to say, because for me, the interesting thing, we were told to have another debate about, like you touched on it before about Brits conquering America, and it's not just in hip hop, from Robbie Williams, all of them, they're always saying about the hype about, some Brits going to America and conquering it, and you haven't made it till you've conquered America, which I always used to think was a bit ridiculous myself. And artists like yourself, and obviously artists like Gunshot, were massive in Europe, Germany, Amsterdam, and to me, if you think of Europe on the same scale as being like America, with American states being like countries, because of the size of the place, it would make more sense to conquer Europe more than try to conquer America. You could make as much money of just trying to conquer Europe rather than trying to conquer America, which you probably wouldn't have got anywhere as much. And I think you did it really, really well. You know what I mean? Where you had massive following in there. And it's funny now because I was watching an interview the other day with Master Ace, who lives out in Europe now. And he was even in an interview in a podcast I was watching the other day. He was saying that when he was trying to come out in America, he didn't get as much following. It didn't seem to quite bite on as much as when he came to London, and he found out he had a massive fan base in London. He was shocked how many people in England liked them, and then also going on to Europe, to the point now where he basically lives in Europe, and he's touring all the time across there. So is dude from the Artifacts, El Decency.
Mm-hmm. Okay, KRS lives in England as well.
Yeah, and then you've also got
Jiro the Damager lives in Germany.
Yeah, they're all living across here. You know what I mean? Because they're making money here, which they're not making in America, which I find really interesting. And I think maybe more acts like yourself and like people should have took more notice of what you were doing when you were conquering Europe and not always trying to conquer America. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, the other thing that you have to look at is, it's like every name you've mentioned is old school.
Yeah.
So, and Europe in general holds on to the nostalgia of the old school better than America does.
Yeah.
America is all about move fast,
Yeah.
just keep moving and change with the times. And that's why people like, you know, if you look at like, say, someone like Jay-Z, so every time he puts a record out, it's more current. It's, you know what I mean? He's basically doing what Madonna did. You know what I mean? Like just going with the times. And, you know, whereas somebody like Master Race, he's too raw. He's, you know, straight up MC, sick. You know what I mean? So, you know, I don't think he would put himself in that position to make the kind of record that Americans are making right now.
No.
Do you know what I mean? Whereas more of the current artists would probably be more inclined to switch over easily because they're not driven by art, they're driven by money.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, and they're driven by, you know, their viewership and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So, you know, you can't blame all of them for moving over because, I mean, like, you know, with KRS-One, it's like, you know, from what I heard in the past, he wasn't getting that many shows in America, but there would be loads of shows in Europe lined up for him.
Yeah.
So because he doesn't like flying, it made sense for him to come out here and live here. I don't know the truth. I'm just hearing what I hear.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it made sense for him to come out here so that he wouldn't have to keep like jumping on a boat and traveling for like 11 days before he got to England.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then, you know, jumping on boats again because he generally doesn't fly. He doesn't fly. He just catches boats everywhere.
Yeah.
Man. But like I said, I don't know the ins and outs. It's just what I hear in tune when people talk. They're like, you know. Yeah. So I can't answer for them. I can just tell you what I've heard.
Yeah. I suppose the other thing for me as well is what I noticed about Gunshot is, like you said before, you hit on that about the merchandise. They were very hot on the merchandise from early on.
I'll tell you the one thing. Okay, so Demon Boys, like we've already said everything about Demon Boys, and you can't fault them. Hijack, we've said whatever. There's so much more that can be said about both of them, and we can't fault them. But the thing that me and Gunshot did that others weren't doing at the time, we smashed it on the merchandise.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we killed it. We basically, like, we knew our business. Yeah, we basically like just showed everyone that, yo, we don't need labels. I mean, Gunshot was signed at the time, I think, if I remember correctly. I wasn't. I had a distribution deal, and I was manufacturing, like, I remember, like, on one tour, we sold 4,000 T-shirts and 2,000 hoodies. Right. You know what I mean? It was crazy, you know? So, yeah, it's the whole thing, what I was trying to say about Gunshot, it wasn't just about the music. But what they did was they put their whole imagery into context, and they, you know, you could make a movie about Gunshot. You know what I mean? You could make a movie probably about Hijack as well, but maybe not as much because they only had the one album. And it's like, how far can you take it? Whereas with Gunshot, you got like, I don't know, 3-4 albums or whatever you had. And you know, maybe even 5, I don't know. Because after a while, I just walked away from the scene and just you know, didn't pay attention anymore. That was all personal reasons.
I've probably got about 3 or 4 albums. I've got one with singles on, like a singles album. There's obviously the first one, Patriot Games, International Rescue, and then there's a Twilight one, isn't there? Yeah, so I've got about 4 albums by them. Yeah, definitely.
Well, you know, I mean, like I said, like with Gunshot, they took business to another level. Yeah. Same as I did. Yeah, we took business to another level. We started thinking as individuals and as entrepreneurs, and we started going, nah, you know what? It's like we can cash in on the merchandising. You know what I mean? But it wasn't even like we're cashing in on the merchandising. What we were doing was we wanted people to wear our clothing so our name got out further. You know, so it wasn't like, yeah, we're trying to make money, but why not make money while you're trying to do promotion?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, but the other interesting thing is, like, I mean, in recent times through Facebook and everything, I've been speaking a little bit with Q-Rock. I've been speaking a little bit with Mercury as well. Yeah. And I have to say, bro, the recent records they've done, both of them, like the levels, you know what I mean? Yeah. It's like what I was saying is, like, sometimes with the Gunshot records, I necessarily wouldn't like hear every word, because they were spitting so fast and it wasn't necessarily audible to me. You know what I mean? But now I'm hearing them, and, like, you know, Mercury's done a couple of records recently, and both of them, Jesus, it's like, you know what I mean? It's like next level. The maturity is just so obvious. Yeah. You know what I mean? And, you know, I was never the biggest fan of Q Rock back in the days. As a rapper, I was like, yeah, I like him, but it wasn't like, oh my God. If Q Rock was doing solo projects, I probably wouldn't be interested.
Yeah.
You know, because I wanted the clarity. Whereas I say right from day one, it's like, as a group, Gunshot just worked. You know what I mean? Yeah. But now I'm hearing what Q Rock's doing, and I'm like, wow, my man's really gone in. Yeah. It's like the stuff he's doing now is, you know what? I'm so happy. It's like, I was waiting, and I spoke to him recently, and I said that to him. I was honest with him. Yeah. You know, but like what he's done now, it's like he's really elevated the art. And maybe it's because we're not trying to make careers out of it. We're just trying to put ourselves out in the best light we can. Yeah. You know what I mean? So we don't have all these boundaries and these barriers and these cages around our heads about what we need, what we think the people want to hear from us. Or we're just doing what we do. You know what I mean? So maybe that's what it is. But yo, it's like, yeah, Q Rock, man. I think the recent stuff he's been doing is sick. You know what I mean? Yeah, as an MC, I can hear every word clearly.
I've just got hiccups. I've just on Instagram now. I've just shared it actually on my Instagram. But Q Rock's asking for breakdancers because he's doing a video for a new song.
Yeah, so. Yeah, I shared it. I shared it already, and as well as that, you know, I got a. No, I'm not going to say anything. Yeah, but I shared it. I shared it, and yeah, like, you know, I'm gonna try and see if I can call up a few people that I know that would be good for the role and whatever, and see what they say. I know youngers, but see, when you call up on the elders, they'll just come and do it. When you call up on the youngers, first thing they go is, I charge 200 an hour. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, yeah, cool, all right. You know what? Can we just hire your legs and your body, and you can leave your mind behind? You know what I mean?
Cool. Okay, move on because time's going.
So yeah, just yeah, I think Gunshot were amazing.
Yeah.
Like before Q Rock left and after. So it was just an ongoing thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like I said, just to summarize, now what I'm hearing Q Rock is just, yeah, next level, sick.
Champion. Yeah. Okay, so we've only got through 3. We need to maybe pick up the pace a bit, or maybe have to chop this into do part 1 and part 2 when I've done this. But next on the list is MC Mello.
Right. I'll try and make it quick. So Mello, for me, what I really like when I heard Subtraction.
Yes.
I was just blown away. I was just like, damn, who's this guy? He just brought a whole different vibe to the scene. You know what I mean? It was different. Only to find out that I already knew who he was, because I knew him from Covent Garden.
Right.
So, you know, and when I met him at Cold Storage Studios, to find out he's recording at the same studio I'm recording at.
Yeah.
And we met outside, and he was reminding me that back in Covent Garden, I used to spit in his ear when I used to box. You know what I mean? So yeah, look, he just brought a whole different vibe. And for me, Mello was probably my favorite MC at that time. You know, he just brought a whole different vibe. I really liked the jazzy vibe, even though I was more into the hard hitting stuff. The thing is, with every group that was there, we would get all the hard hitting stuff. So when Mello came in and he brought the jazz vibe, like, you know, everything else that he brought in with it, with singing and what else was going on, it was like, wow, what's this? You know what I mean? It was refreshing. And yeah, proud day. He's a friend of mine, and that I'm proud that we met even as youngsters, and just to see the person, the MC that he's turned into and he became, and yeah, just amazing. Just a whole different, you know, he had his vibe going on. Yeah,
again, you only done 1 album. Never really heard much about him ever since. So you're still friendly with him now, with that? Yeah, you still see him around?
Yeah, we spoke a couple of weeks ago. Cool. Yeah, so, you know, I sent him a message just to see how he was, and he called back.
Yeah.
So yeah, we still speak, and yeah, just he seems well, and we'll probably catch up in a month or so again.
Cool.
So.
Nice one. Okay. Because I've got that album, like, you know, like all of the ones you've mentioned so far, I've got all the albums, and I've got that one, and it is very different, and which is what I like sometimes as well, because, you know, I like the more hard, fast-paced sort of hip hop, but you can't listen to it all the time. You need to be able to have a break from it and listen to other stuff, and he's definitely somebody I like to check out from time to time, you know, play the album. I haven't got it on vinyl. Yeah, I've got it on CD.
Yeah, well, which is what I was saying. It's like, you know, he just brought a different thing because, you know, like I try and explain to people during a day, like all these people that don't smile. I'm like, come on, you must smile at once in the day. Please put a different personality.
Yeah.
Please put a different personality in what you're doing. So, you know, people here, like say, for example, I mean, I'm guilty of that. People always go, oh, he's angry, he's always. But hold on, listen to the lyrics and you'll see there's a lot of humor in it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're just not catching it because, you know, first thing you hear is, "Ah," and you think it's it. But you don't, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah. So, you know, I mean, even like what I was saying about the whole gunshot thing, it's like when I listen back to a lot of stuff in the early days, not necessarily the first couple of singles, but when I listen to the rhyming on the album, I keep saying, you know what? I kind of went backwards. I was going through a lot of personal stuff and I was trying to focus on the business and, you know, maybe the rhyming suffered a little bit or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, or maybe the delivery. So, you know, it's like as years went on, suddenly I started hearing a different question. 1997 was when I heard a different, and I was like, that's the guy. You know what I mean? And that's what I started focusing on. So, you know, I'll slag myself off. I'm not slagging anyone off, but I'm saying I'll slag myself. It's like I knew I could have done better. You know what I mean? But I, you know, when you've just been told you're expecting a child and your dad's died, and you know what I mean, suddenly your emotions get all kind of fucked up in it. So yeah.
John?
I was going to say, first UK single I bought, hip hop, MC Mello, Open Up Your Mind. I'm sure it was. That was the first one I bought.
What a record!
I know.
Is that the one with the doll on the front?
Yeah, you had like the mask beside him, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was the first UK hip hop track I bought.
Nice one.
And I love that album as well. It's like you said, it's different.
Very different.
Yeah, exactly. It was like more of like almost like it's like a Tribe Called Quest melody type native tongues music sound wise.
Yeah.
Which was something
but before them.
Exactly, I know. But that's sort of like melodies like jazzy tip rather than like what you said, rah rah rah. It's like quite angry. It's like
But the good thing about Mello is you knew he could turn on the angry side if
exactly.
You know what I'm saying? He had that. That's what I'm saying. He was for me he was a beast MC. You know what I mean? He just he was calm, but at the same time it's like don't fuck with me kind of calm.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay. Last one on the UK, and we've got Catch-22.
Right. So again, I'll keep it really short, and I'll try and make it as sweet as possible. Yeah, when I first heard Catch-22, I'd already met Margot a few times.
Yeah.
But I didn't even have, you know, I wasn't even clued up on the whole crew and whatever. I just knew he was a producer and whatever. And you know, but yeah, when I heard them, the thing that really took me back was the drum programming. Okay. And as a producer, I was like, damn, what is he doing? It's like I'm listening and I'm thinking, fucking hell, he's got like 16 snares on one line. What is he doing? It's like, but I was really taken back by it all, thinking, yeah, that's clever. That's clever. Do you know what I mean? And then obviously, like, you know, he wasn't scared to go. He basically what was about Mello just now, about the jazzy vibe and whatever.
Yeah.
But they did all of that. They went from the jazzy vibe to the don't fuck with me vibe, and you know what I mean? It's like 1 minute they're Public Enemy, next minute they're I don't know, Art Ensemble of Chicago. No, do you know what I mean? Like, so they could flip from vibe, and they did it very comfortably as well.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? So 1 minute they can be like Public Enemy, next minute they can probably be soft like I don't know, your Dinner Jazz guys, but not soft. But yeah, but it was the production. I mean, Finn, for me, Huckleberry Finn is one of the greatest MCs I've heard. He's just always on it lyrically. Delivery was always good, and you could always feel there was like emotion in everything he was doing. You know what I mean? And up to this day, I'm still friends with Finn. We talk like quite regularly. Really good guy. Again, proud to have him as a friend and everything. Yeah. But yeah, just the vibe, everything again. You know, I keep saying the vibe, but it is about the vibe, and they captured so many different emotions with what they were doing. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like what I was saying earlier about just a couple minutes ago about you're not rough all the time. You do smile, you do cry, you do whatever. Yeah. and they captured all the emotions. They did it very well.
Again, they're a group. I've got, 3 albums by them. Is there 3? I think there's 3 I've got. There's quite a few of them. There's even like a female, but I don't really know how many was in the crew. Like obviously Hunt, Kilberry Finn, Marga, and you normally say about 4 or 5 on an album.
Killer Man Twice.
Killer Man Twice.
Yeah, there was Killer Man Twice. So I mean, I went on tour with them, and I think there was 4, maybe 5 of them at the time.
Yeah.
But again, it's like the hijack thing. It's like, is everyone part of the crew?
Yeah.
What does everyone do? Because I didn't see everyone on the turntables, and I didn't see everyone mic.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's one of those. But again, for me, it's irrelevant. What they did as a group just put the group on the map, and that's all that matters, really. Do you know what I mean?
No, I agree with that, but I suppose just as a nerd, as a hip-hop nerd, I'd like to know the ins and outs of everything. And, going back to when I used to go and buy records, we always talk about this, but we used to rush to town on the Saturday morning because you lived in Newcastle, and, there wasn't many records came to Newcastle from anywhere. So you had to be there early, because if you didn't get there early, somebody else got the record that you wanted, or you didn't know what it was. You just heard that there was some records coming on Saturdays. You'd get a record, a recommendation from the guy in the shop, you might like this, and take it home, and then you'd look at the album cover, look at the artwork on the front, then look on the back, where was it recorded, cold storage, where's cold storage, all of this type of stuff like that, you know what I mean? Who's on it? Who's that name? Marga, right, okay, Hunt, Kilberry Finn, yeah, who's that? Who's he connected with? Who else has he made music with? All of that type of stuff, because no internet. Magazines were a bit sparse as well about giving you information as well. So it was just like the kind of like, you wanted to try and soak up as much information as possible. So when you saw 5 people on the album cover, you wanted to know what the actual personnel was, who rapped, did 2 of them rap, was it 2 DJs, was one a dancer, you know what I mean? Was one a hype man, was one Flavor Flav type character. You just wanted to know all of that, like I did anyway. Don't know about you, John.
Well, you didn't have to worry about all of that. All you had to do was worry about getting the record. And what you had to do is, if you didn't have the money on the day the record was out, you just had to go and wait outside the shop, wait for someone else to buy it, and stab them and take the record.
Oh, don't try that at home, kids.
I'm joking. I'm joking. No, I wouldn't do that. I'm joking.
Okay.
I'd hope that everyone that's listening in is sensible enough to know that that was a joke.
Anything to add, John?
I was going to say something with Catch 22, because they were on Cold Sweat, weren't they?
Yeah, that's right.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, what was the first album called? Is it Die with a Black Man Living in the Land of the
Lost?
That was it, yeah.
Yeah.
I was so annoyed by that album, because it spoilt all of me Cold Sweat records, because everything had them lush green sleeves, and then that came out, and I'm like, oh! I think that's my OCD showed up now, but yeah.
Yeah.
That's the only album I had by them. I've never, in fact, I don't think I even heard the other 2 albums.
There's one called Nocturnal or something, I think, right. And there's another one. What's the other one called? Two Cities, Tale of 2 Cities.
Right.
Tale of 2 Cities, yeah. That has some sick tunes on there, bro. If you get a chance, you need to listen to it.
Yeah.
Do you know what? That's what I'm going to do tonight. I'm writing notes of everything that we're talking about. So.
Really good. Really good. Yeah.
Right. So.
Okay.
Yeah. So obviously, the other groups that I was going to mention.
Yeah. There's an honourable mention. Yeah.
The honourable mention, and the only reason why I say honourable in this situation is because they didn't put out an album. They only had a couple singles. But before I go there, there's another person I'd like to, or another group I'd like to do an honourable mention.
Blade,
and the only reason why
I hope you're not cheating, Blade. You already asked for 5. Now you're cheating and you're squeezing.
I know, but you know what? I was genuinely a fan. I was genuinely a fan. You know what I mean? And I had to buy these records.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So before I go on to the other honorable mention, I have to say Caveman. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like what that guy did, and he's one of the most humble people that you could meet. Mark is such a nice dude. You know what I mean? Yeah. And just musically, vocally, everything, the energy, and I always wanted to sample Jimi Hendrix, but I was scared in case I got sued. And he went and did it. Rah, he did it. Oh my God. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, to come out with you know what I mean? All the tracks that he was coming out with in the first album, every track was a killer. Every track. Do you know what I mean? you know, like I used to hear people constantly saying, "Oh, but he sounds like Lord Finesse or whatever," and you know what I mean. But I was just, who cares? He's good. You know what I mean? So yeah, I have to give an honorable mention to Caveman because I think he was sick. You know what I mean? You know, I wish we had, because then he'd be in that amongst with the others.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And also that he signed a profile, and you know what I mean? He showed everyone that, you know, again, like Hijack, there was a signing, thing was going on, and it wasn't all independent label like Music of Life or Cold Sweat. A label, someone that was putting money to it, investing, and
yeah.
I mean, so yeah. But the main honorable mention that I wanted to mention was Hard Noise. Right? Basically, the reason I'm saying they're in the every base because everyone else had a bigger body of work. And Harden only had the 2 singles, but what they did with those 2 singles was ridiculous. I would have been eagerly waiting to see what was coming next. Now I knew Hard Noise before they made their first record, and I basically was involved in getting them to like studios, manufacturing, whatever, and you know what I mean. So, you know, and that's because I believed in what they were doing.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. But that's not to take anything away from them. Everything they did was what they did. The music was all theirs. Everything, the talent was all theirs. You know what I mean? I just got involved in the behind the scenes, trying to help get the records out and whatever. So yeah, I think I was disappointed when it stopped at 2 singles.
Yeah,
you know what I mean, I don't know why it stopped at 2 singles. I've had conversations with one member of Hard Noise recently for the last couple of years, and you know, he's given me his side of it and everything, and yeah, it's just kind of, it is what it is. You know what I mean? It's not for me to say, but yeah, I would have eagerly waited to see what an album would have produced, because if they had that kind of hunger at that time, can you imagine what the album would have been?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's probably, for me, that's probably the biggest disappointment, just that there was no album from them.
Okay.
Especially at a time when I was actually buying records. No.
Yeah, nice one.
But yeah.
Okay. So that's the UK wrapped up. Thanks very much. We're going to part 2 now. I'm going to say, because I don't know how we're going to do this. I might chop this up or I might just carry it rolling. I'm not sure yet, but we're going to say this is part 2. And this is Blade, and he's going to start talking about, he's speaking to the Vinyl Vandals, and he's going to talk about his top 5 fave UK artists / rappers. So over to you, Blade. The first one that you picked was for the USA was Rakim.
Yeah, I mean, what is there that hasn't already been said about Rakim? The God MC, as we all know him. You know, ultimately, like we were all to hearing a certain type of hip hop. Obviously, he started from the electro, and then he moved into the rhyming and whatever. Yeah. But when Rakim came in, that was rhyming just gone to a whole different stratosphere. We were, you know, even when we were like, you know, I Know You Got Soul or whatever, it was, I remember sitting on the backs of buses playing that record, and everybody on the bus, even elders, were kind of like, what's that? It's really good. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. You know, but obviously, the thing that the track that got me into Rakim was My Melody. You know what I mean? When I heard My Melody, I was like, wow, who's this guy? Who's this guy? And it was the whole tone of the voice, just to see, like, you know, because I used rap and everything, but every time we rap, we're always like aggressive. Yeah. And I heard this guy just come in, I check out My Melody, and he was calm, and it was like, what? What's he doing? You know what I mean? Yeah. But it worked, you know? And yeah, it not just that it worked, it completely changed everything. The whole way MCs rap now and whatever, it wasn't about always being aggressive and whatever. Even though for us as artists, we had our way of portraying things, we didn't calm down. Me personally, I didn't calm down, because when I calmed down, people were saying, oh, you sound a bit like Rakim. Uh-huh. And I was like, I don't really want that comparison. Yeah. You know what I mean? But, you know, in later years, I learned to kind of use my voice in my own way and just be me and whatever. And, yeah. You know what I mean? Without, so, by the way, like Rakim, for me, he was a game changer. He brought lyricism to the game on a whole different level. He brought real MCing to the game. Yeah. You know, it's like, how can I say? It's like hearing drum and bass MCs just blah, 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 blah. And then one comes in and actually spits lyrics. And you're like, raw. And that's what Rakim did to hip hop. He just came and he just brought something completely new that was mind blowing. You know what I mean?
remember
And not only that, it's like, say again.
No, go on, keep going.
No, I was gonna say, it's like, as well as that, you know, like, for example, I listened to a Tiny Temper record. Now, in all of Tiny Temper's career, I only remember, yeah, we bring the car out. I don't remember anything else.
Right.
But with Rakim, he had millions of lyrics, and I could recite so many from so many records.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And what was good, that it wasn't like pop music. It was just raw underground, but you remember so much. It's all so easy to take in. It was like nursery rhyming, but not nursery rhyming.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like, how do you have these deep lyrics and it's engraved in your head for 30 years?
Yeah.
How is that possible?
I just remember
It's not like ABCD.
Yeah. It was his swag for me. I think I'd heard him, yeah. But the actually first time I actually visually saw him was, I think it was a girl I was seeing at the time got me a video, and it was to match. She knew I had this record called Hip Hop and Rapping in the House or something like that. It was a video that went with it, and when I put it on, I think it was the first time I actually visually saw him, and I think it was Move the Crowd. And just the way he struts on the stage, like, you know, like I was just like, whoa, how cool is he? You know, just the way he saunters on.
Yeah.
It just matched his flow. The way he walked matched his flow. And I was just like, this is mint. Yeah, I absolutely love this tune, Move the Crowd. And that was like the first time I actually visually saw him with the music, you know what I mean? I just thought it was class. And I was sold after that for me, like, you know.
Yeah, and you know, like you said, the swagger as well. I mean, you can't not mention the swagger.
Yeah.
Did you have a problem with him because he rapped in an American accent, though?
I was waiting for it. You've done well. It's been an hour. Do you want to explain that one, please? Or shall I explain it?
You explain it.
So, again, living in Newcastle, you don't get the chance to see people and stuff. And you can't take it all in. And I was lucky the most. I've always said this. I've got family down in London, you know. My mum, God rest her soul, lived in London. We moved down from Newcastle to London, and my sister's followed. And I've got aunties, uncles, and cousins down there as well. So I'm down there a lot. And John is as well, aren't you, John?
Yeah.
And I've been going down there since the 70s for family. And people were saying to us, "I heard this one, have you heard that one?" And what we always say as well is we couldn't afford to buy all the records every Saturday, was when we tended to go and buy records, but you couldn't always buy them, so you get tapes off your friends. And so I'd buy an album and my friend would buy an album, then you swap tapes and stuff. And when I first heard Blade, I was like, why is he sounding, is he one of these ones trying to be American? You know, there was that little thing at the time, and I was like, oh, right, I'm not listening to that anymore. One song, that was it. Never really heard much by him again. And then I remember saying, oh, who's this? They said, that's the guy you said you didn't like. I was like, oh, this is all right. And then somebody explained it was like, it was your accent. It wasn't you trying to be American, that's your accent, because you're not from, or your accent isn't from Britain. And I didn't know that, because I was no visuals, or I'd never seen you before. And it wasn't until, you know, like I'd probably seen you in Hip Hop Connection, but not made the connection between the tape I'd heard and it being you. And when I was introduced, I was like, all right, okay. And that's when I started getting into it. So I was a late developer. And one of the main people that really got us into it and started saying, you need to listen to him, was a friend of mine. Shout out to Ruben Fletcher, giving him another shout out. But he was the one that was always championing you and saying, you need to listen to this dude. And that's when I started listening to you. I was late to the party for your music, I admit that. But you know, John, I'll tell you, I'm a stubborn dude when it comes to my music. And if I've heard one song and not liked it or not took it in very much, then I'm not listening to that. And John's always trying to get us to watch films and stuff as well, and I'll just refuse.
Or go to gigs.
I'll go to gigs even, yeah, go to gigs. Another one, I want good. I want to see him. You know, and then I always say my turning point as well. I was same guy, Ruben Fletcher. I was went to the Sage in Gateshead, and I've said this story before, but you're on, and I'm going to mention it again. Went to see Rodney P because we were told Rodney P was coming. I was dead excited because I hadn't seen Rodney P for years with London Posse. And one of the things with a lot of rappers is British or USA, they don't come to Newcastle. It's very, very rare they'll come. And when they do come, a lot of the hip hop heads don't even go. They won't spend their money and won't go. So when I heard that Rodney P was coming, I was like, I'm there. I took the day off work, the night off work, sorry, I was waiting on the door. and I got my son looked after because I had my son every weekend, and my dad said, "Oh, I'll look after him." So I came all excited to think I'm going to see Rodney P. Then there was a whisper going around, Rodney P's not performing, Rodney P's not performing. I was like, oh, okay, why not? And I was really angry. I've lost money because I could have been making money, yeah, because I used to work in a pub and then go to work in a nightclub, so it was kind of a bit of money to be earning on a Saturday. And then also the fact is I'm not going to get to see Rodney P. And I think I even had some records with us as well to get signed. Then the door opens in the stage after a couple of hours of standing there, and in walks Blade, and on my face I was furious. I was like, what? Why advertise Rodney P then send Blade up? So, you know, no disrespect to you, Blade, but obviously I was angry. And you came from the other side of the room. I was on the far end of the room, and you looked around the room and you saw my face and you saw me like sort of like looking angry, and you came straight across, looked me in the eye and shook my hand and said, you know, I've just come to, you know, to try and save the show. And I've always respected you ever since that, you know. You dashed up from London just for that, and the fact that you came around and you faced people as well in there who were angry. Not at you, it wasn't your fault. We obviously were angry with the promoter, we were angry with Rodney P because we were told Rodney P, we were told two stories. One was that Rodney P didn't want to turn up and couldn't be bothered. And we were also told one where Rodney P didn't even know he was supposed to be on, and the promoter had lied and tried to get Rodney P at the last minute. Either one, I don't know, but obviously just that you came up and you did that. I watched 2 or 3 of your songs and I left because I was just so annoyed with the night in general, you know. But I did watch it for about 2 or 3 of your songs. So that's my little story. So you can't say it anymore, Blade.
So we can now confirm that you are a Rakim fan and you don't have a problem with his accent.
I have no problem with Rakim's accent. I have no problem with accent either, Blade. Okay? I have CDs by you. I have records by you.
Hey.
And I have other ones as well lying around, so don't worry, I have stuff by you. So.
Hopefully next week you'll have some more.
Cool. Okay, so that's that game. Okay, and that's like my little side story. Okay, move on. Public Enemy. What can you say about Public Enemy?
Mind-blowing. Like, I mean, the first group that actually brought like a next level of a message through music. Like, you know, I mean, the music amazing. Yeah. Again, the imagery was amazing. What they did with the S1Ws and, you know, the soldiers and just everything crazy. I'm so glad I saw them like a few times. You know what I mean? Otherwise, I think I would have missed a bit of what turned me into who I became eventually with the performance and everything. Yeah. Obviously, we didn't have any S1Ws, you know what I mean? Like, you know, but it was all good. But yeah, just the lyricism, the message, the content, the music, the attitude, the personalities that were the group members and everything. Everyone had like strong personalities. Your Chuck D's and your Professor and your Flavs, and you know, I think the person that maybe didn't have a personality, or probably did have a personality, but it was a silent one, was Terminator X. And you know, that was when we first started hearing about, you know, it's like the DJ speaks with his hands. You know what I mean? Doesn't speak with his mouth. Yeah. So even that was a personality. Saying. But yeah, above all, the fact that they had like a serious message, and you know, they slightly got the message through to the whole world through making music accessible in the clubs, even the hard music. And you know what I mean? It's like they were on radio. It was just a whole big thing. It's like how are you telling people to fuck off and making them listen to you? Do you know what I mean? It's like, for me, personally, out of everybody that I've met in the music world, and out of everybody that I've had the pleasure of listening to, that I rate and I respect and whatever, for me, Chuck D is probably my favorite personality of all.
Cool.
I mean, he's like, you know, yeah, he's just really cool. He carries himself well all the time. Yeah. You know, sometimes he might say something, and then on a different day it might be slightly different. But you know, everyone's got rights to add things and whatever. But I don't see it as contradiction or whatever. Yeah. I just see it as, you know, It's like you wake up one day and something different's happened to make you change your mind, or but it's not a contradiction. Do you know what I mean? He just expands on things, and
Yeah.
you know what I mean. But yeah, I love Chuck D. Ultimately, I think he's the best representative like hip hop can have.
Okay. Cool. Question.
Yeah.
Is what's your favorite album by Public Enemy?
I was about to say that.
Oh, it's got to be. You know, it's a tough one. It's between the first and the second.
Yeah.
It's a tough one.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to go with Bomb Rusher Show.
Okay. And John, what's your?
It's a tough one. It's that close.
Well, Fred, we've discussed this before, and you were quite surprised what I said. Apocalypse 91. See, everyone does that. It's got so many cool tracks on it. I don't know why. It's just.
That's fair. No,
I'm not slating the other albums because basically I think there's like the hip hop history, which basically made hip hop what it is today. But Apocalypse 91, can't trust it. Be favorite Public Enemy track. Don't know why.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean,
second album for me.
Yeah. What's yours?
Second album.
Yeah, I'm kind of on and off because both of them, every track is so immense. It's like, you know what I mean? Every track is something else.
You know why it edges as far as Overblade is because of Night of the Living Bassheads. I just absolutely adore that.
Yeah.
Track. Yeah, you only see that track. Or just all of it, just the way it gets busy. Even the video, I love the video. You know, the long playing video with Flavor Flav and I don't know who the woman is, but like the acting as newscasters and the guy acting as going into the Bassheads, like the spot. All of that, I just love the whole lot of it. I just think it's absolutely brilliant. You know.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, for me, it's such a tough call. But the only reason why I actually said the first album is because it's what got me into them.
Yeah.
When I have a thing where I like a group and I like their first album and I like their second album equally, I always go with the one that got me into them.
That's fair enough. I get that.
Yeah, but I hear what you're saying.
Yeah.
I hear what you're saying, and I should really say the second one because they had, for one of the tracks, they had the audience in London making all the noise, and I was in that audience. I should be like, yo, I was there. You know what I mean? But but I'm like, you know what? I can't like it just because I was in the audience for that 2 seconds. You know what I mean?
Another interesting funny fact for me is when I first, going back to jumping on the bus, it's the X62, jumping on the bus and racing to town to get there before anybody else to get the records and going in. And there was a guy in the shop in Volume, the record shop at the time called Volume. There's a hip hop head in there called Billy that used to work behind the counter. And I used to say, Bill, what you got? And Bill said, I've got something just for you. Another kind of, because he knows I like the hardcore stuff. He said, I've got just a song for you.
Yeah.
Drop the needle on this Def Jam track. Yeah. And it was Public Enemy #1. I was like, what's this? I was just like,
yeah, exactly.
But no, I didn't like it. I didn't like it.
On Public Enemy #1.
I didn't like it. He says, no, you've got to like this.
Are you serious?
I didn't like it. Not when I first heard it. I didn't. I'm funny sometimes.
I didn't either.
I have to sort of like digest it. I don't all just instantly like a song. So I said, all right, I'll buy it anyway. Right? And I took it to him.
It must be a Newcastle thing.
I took it to
him.
him.
A Newcastle thing. Something in the water.
You're talking about like stuff like, because I never used to really like electro. I wasn't really into that. But I think because what I was listening to at the time was that sort of like the James Brownie type, boom, bap, boom, boom, bap. And this was totally just alien to that. And I was just like, what's this? And it just took us a while to get into it. I took it to him, listened to it a few times, and I just instantly, that was it. After that, I just loved it.
You seem to have a bit of a disease, taking a little while to get into things.
I admit it. Yeah, there's some artists that's facts. I don't instantly overwhelm an artist. Sometimes I do, but sometimes it gets away with me. Has to grow on us.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. No, I mean that's fair. Some things grow, isn't it? Yeah. So, but yeah, Public Enemy, the whole image, everything, just ridiculous. I mean,
next one. This is
life changing.
And this is the next one's an interesting one for me because it makes sense why you picked them, but not many people do, and I think it gets forgotten a lot. I suppose is what I'm trying to say. when you mentioned top rappers, you didn't always seem to be in people's top 10 or top 5s. Now you picked LL Cool J. Do you want to like elaborate on that?
Okay, for me, the important thing was I heard this guy who was younger than me, and I was like, damn, this guy is a fire. Do you know what I mean? I mean, I had, if there was one album I had on repeat on my Walkman, and when I say on repeat, I basically recorded a cassette, and then I recorded it in on the other side. And when one side finished, I would have to rewind it just through to the next side.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And it was LL J. Do you know what I mean? Like every track, Yo Yvette, everything. It was all sick, all of it. Yo Yvette, you know what I mean? It's just everything was just sick. Like but yeah, it was like again. I was a bit baffled how this 16-year-old has got this like, you know what I mean? But it was like, yo, I know what I want from life, and I'm going for it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And for me, as slightly older than him, a couple of years older than him, I looked at him and I just thought, fucking hell, I can't believe I'm saying it, but I'm learning from a younger now.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? This got something. This guy's got something. And you know, and then we watched, and then we saw him at the record company, and he started jumping around and doing my radio. Believe me, I like it loud. And I just thought, oh my God, the whole energy and this, like everybody else that I've been a fan of has been groups.
Yeah.
Up to that point, everybody was groups. Do you know what I mean? And then this one guy coming in, and he's young, and he's just like, there's my foot. It's on the floor now. You ain't moving me.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And yeah, I was just blown away by like the whole attitude. Like, and it wasn't, there was an arrogance about him.
Oh, yeah.
And as the years went on, some people got to dislike that arrogance. But I loved it. I just thought, yo, if you know, if I look good, I sound good, I perform good, and I got every right to be arrogant, and this fuck all anyone can tell me. And that's what I liked about him. He knew he was on something. Do you know what I mean? And to have that when you're 16 years old, yeah.
Nice one, John.
But he is one of the greatest, isn't he? Because his first album was Radio, wasn't it? Then it went to Bad, and then it was
Big and Deffer, yeah, Bad.
Yeah.
Big and Deffer,
then was it Walking with a Panther, wasn't it?
Walking with a Panther, yeah.
See, them 3 albums, brilliant. And then he started to take way off a bit, but then he did the album 14 to the Dome.
Yeah.
That's my favourite album by him.
Yeah,
Love that album.
Heavy. It's heavy.
Yeah. It's almost very. It's almost got like a lot of.
You know the track.
Sorry.
Yeah. See, for me, I prefer the earlier stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But at the same time, when I heard the last on that album with the whole orchestra and everything, that was just immense.
Mm-hmm.
You know which track I'm talking about? I forget the name, but there was a track he done with the orchestra. I think it's the last track on the album.
On which album?
On Radio.
On the shots, 14 shots.
14 shots of the Dome.
Yeah.
Get it Google.
You know, I was actually listening to it a couple of days ago as well. I can't remember the top of my head. I forgot what the final track was called. Let's have a look. Sorry, let's get my phone out.
Yeah, it's a funny one because when you...
I bought the album.
Yeah.
When you speak
I bought the album. Sorry, go on.
No, Crossroads. Is it?
With all the thunder and everything. That was the final track.
Crossroads, yeah.
When you speak to people, they don't tend to mention them, but actually when you said it, I was like, actually, why do people always forget him? You can't get much better than him in consistency. Whether you like all of the stuff, I don't like all of his stuff. I don't like the more girl stuff, you know, like the more sloppy stuff. Although he's probably the best one to ever do it. Yeah. You know, I think he's better than, say, like Big Daddy Kane are doing it. I think I don't necessarily Big Daddy Kane when he does it, but I think LL Cool J hits it right. You know, and I think, you know, consistency wise, he's on top of the game. but people always forget about them.
Yeah.
Do you not think it's because
Always.
he's now perceived not as a rapper, as more of a entertainer with like TVs and films and everything like that?
Well, Ice Cube is, but people still talk about Ice Cube.
True, very true.
You know?
Very true.
Okay, nice one. We'll move on. We have the Ultramagnetics.
There's nothing to say. We just move on to the next one.
Come on, Spill.
Yeah, I mean, Ultras. Wow. I think personally, I think they've done the greatest hip hop album of all time. I just think the production that G came with, the craziness that, you know, like Kool Keith basically showed the whole world that you don't have to stay within certain boundaries to be good.
Yeah.
Like he just like, imagine like in the days of Pocahontas, where they had the whites in their little village locked from whatever. And Kool Keith is living in that little village. Kool Keith just basically broke all the walls down and said, fuck it, I don't care. This whole island is mine. You know what I mean? And that's basically what I love of Kool Keith. The fact that, you know, it's like, if you listen to what he's doing, are you there? Because
Yeah, we're here. Yeah.
I mean, here you put your super froze.
Keep talking.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. I suddenly went. Can you see me or not?
I can hear you, but your super frozen.
Your picture's frozen, but just keep talking anyway. We can still hear you.
Okay. Hold on. All right. So hopefully I should be back now.
Yeah.
Okay. So anyway, yeah. I mean, what I loved about Ultras is just the production was next level. The way they were chopping things up and putting it together was just like, it was like, what are these guys doing? Do you know what I mean? Yeah. But it was cleverly done. You know what I mean? And they weren't taking things from obvious places. It's like they might be obvious, but they're taking the obvious bit. You know what I mean? And it was just all over the place, but it was very, very intricate. You know what I mean? And then you had Kool with his rhyming. And it was just like, what is this guy saying? It's like, do you know what I mean? I keep in shape and do my little fitness. Do you know what I mean? It was just like, what the fuck? It's just, you know, but I mean, that was a bit later on, obviously, because like ego tripping, and, you know, traveling at the speed of thought and all that stuff before, you know, to give the drummers some and everything. Yeah, just, I just think they brought an abnormality to hip hop, where it showed people that you don't have to stay in those restraints. You know what I mean? You can do whatever you want. Just make it flow. Just make it sound good. You know what I mean? Okay. So they brought a new element where I think same way that Rakim brought like intricacy in the rhyming and whatever, they brought just abnormality to the rhyming. You know what I mean? Like you could say anything. Like literally that album could have just been freestyle. You could just be like, yeah, I'm here on my computer. Don't care. My phone battery died. It's like, and it all flows. Who cares? Do you know what I mean? But they were just really, really clever with it. And for me, Ultramagnetics, I was fortunate enough to, you know, basically meet them. I basically hooked them up with tours in Europe and everything. I met them in London at Linford Hall, and became with them and whatever, we talked. And yeah, so I've got photos somewhere, but you know, that's for another day. Yeah, I just, you know, became good friends with them, and you know, it'd be good to link up with them again to see where they're at now. But yeah, it's one of those groups where I just thought, wow, if there was a group I wanted in my life so I could learn from and just basically not be scared to open myself completely and I'm doing whatever the fuck I want. You know what I mean? That would be the group.
They're another group that I didn't get into straight away. I've got that album. I've got it on CD and vinyl. But I wasn't a fan at first. I'm saying not a fan. I didn't dislike them, but I just, again, one of those groups that I got into later on, but I didn't quite get it. I was like, yeah, it's okay, but I didn't understand why everybody was so raving on about them. I know you like them a lot, John, don't you?
Well, I was the same. I didn't get it. I knew who they were and I listened to them, but it was Papa Large, which did it for me.
Right.
Once I heard that, and I saw the video for that, went back, and then and then obviously you've got all the Four Horsemen album, then all the Cool Keith solo stuff, which is just, he just changes everything. In every album, he's got a new persona and everything like that, and it's just, some of it's just, it makes no sense. But then you've got things like Dr. Octagon and everything, which I just love, the Dr. Octagon album.
Cool.
Yeah, he's just off the chains.
Yep.
Not on anybody's radar.
No.
Okay.
And he's still releasing stuff now as well. So
yeah.
Last on your list is the one and only Blast Master. Do you want to say who that is?
Yeah, obviously KRS-One. Earlier, before I go into KRS-One, an honorable mention to Big Daddy Kane as well, because, like, again, one of my favorite MCs of all time. I could say the same for Coogee Rap. Do you know what I mean? But I'm trying to. The only way I can say these other guys is because I feel like they just brought more in terms of personality rather than just the music. Like they brought a character, some kind of imagery to the game that maybe the others didn't. You know what I mean? Now, we could say, like, with Big Daddy Kane, we could say he did that with the whole female thing, but that was aspect of him I didn't really like. It was a bit too soft for me.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you can't take nothing away from him. He was like literally like the sickest he ever. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, just feel if there was one person I say fell off, would be him.
Yeah.
Which for me is sad, because when I see him now and he's performing shows, he's still killing it. Amazing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's still killing it. But that's all with the stuff that we like, not with the stuff we don't.
Yeah, I think for me, with him, I've heard 3 or 4 of his albums, and I think what for me was that he, it's the skip thing. You know, there's quite a few songs that I skip on his albums, that I just think, I've got to leave that alone. I can't, you know, it hasn't aged very well, and that's the thing with me with Big Daddy Kane. But the stuff that I like by him, I really like by him. But the stuff that I don't, I really don't like.
Yeah, and they're always gonna be there. You know what I mean? They're always gonna be there.
Yeah.
So yeah. So going back to KRS-One, I mean, like, this guy's a mountain, isn't he? Really? Like, you know what I mean? It's like, I mean, the bravado. If there was one MC, I'd say they came in with a certain level of bravado, it would be, you know, KRS. You know what I mean? He came in. He's got big shoulders, like, you know, not necessarily in terms of his body and his stature, but like when he runs, it's just like, yeah, I'm not playing games here.
No.
You know what I mean? But yeah, everything he did, like, you know, one of my favorite songs that he's ever done is I'm Still Number One.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, it's just the cockiness. I'm still number one. Dun 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 dun. You know what I mean? And you just know, like, it's just, you know what I mean? And like the same reasons why we like Hijack and Gunshot and all that, and Public Enemy for the oomph. It's like KRS-One came in with sort of like almost an MC Mello kind of calmness, but did it with like that oomph from Hijack, and then in the delivery, in the way he delivered. But he was like that with all of his music. He just had that authority vibe, like, you know what I mean? Like, and then when you're standing next to the guy and you see that he's like 6'5" or something.
Yeah, he's a big one, isn't he? He's a big one.
Yeah. Well, we saw him 2 years. Was it 2 years ago we met him? So when we saw him at the O2.
Yes.
And I got a selfie with him. I look like I'm like a little puppet, just stand beside him. So he's up here and I was like down here. I'm like, he is a giant, like, so.
Yeah. I mean, I hosted before I retired. Just before I retired, I hosted 2 or 3 shows with him.
Yeah.
So I was introducing him and stuff. So I got my picture with him and all that as well. But I met him way back. I gave him a copy of Lyrical Maniac, but way back in the days, I just put it in his hand. Yeah. You know what I mean? So, you know, I've, you know, and he's one of those guys where I'm like, yeah, I met a king, basically. Do you know what I mean? Now, I know in recent times there's been a little bit of talk about the whole Africa Bam situation and all that, but let's make it clear, I'm not judging him on his personal thing and what he thinks and his opinions and whatever. I judge the man for the person I met and for the person that makes the music. You know what I mean? With the whole Bam thing, I'm not involved in all of that in that sense. So I'm not going to cut the man off just because, you know what I mean? He has his opinion and he's doing whatever he's doing. I didn't follow that whole thing properly, and all I care about is his music side of it. It's like, people like constantly going on about Maradona with his hand of God. I'm like, look, all I know is Maradona's my favorite footballer of all time, and all I care about is what he does on the pitch. I don't care about his personal life. Mm-hmm. So what if he snorts coke? He's not snorting coke with me or my kids.
Yeah. Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So yeah, that's basically where I'm at with it. So with KRS-One, I mean, lyrically, he's got one of the most clear lyricism voices ever. Everything he says is so clear, and everything he says is just on the beat, and everything he says has got authority behind it. There's nothing soft about anything that he does.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's conviction. Every delivery has got conviction. Do you know what I'm saying? Like there's when you somebody sometimes, when you talk to somebody sometimes and you hear parts where you think they weren't sure about that. I mean, he doesn't seem to have that. It's like he's always sure about what he's saying.
Well, can I ask you then, what's your favorite album by him? There's so many.
I'm gonna go with My Philosophy.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like I just love, like, me, when I pick these, what my favorite albums are and all that. Is it called My Philosophy? What is it? It's My Philosophy, isn't it? The reason why I go for generally the first album is because these are the reasons why I got into them in the first place.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So even if there are certain tracks on the following albums that I like more at any point,
yeah,
it's like I just go, these are the albums that I listen to endlessly on my Walkman. You know what I mean? Whereas some of the other albums at a later date, I may have skipped 3 or 4 tracks or whatever. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, for me, I always go pretty much with the first album. It's like I've done the same with pretty much everybody there. Probably the only one I would say maybe a little bit later was Catch-22. I'd go with, like, the third album maybe, because I thought the album was sick. Do you know what I mean?
Okay.
But in terms of KRS-One, I mean, again, like I said, just everything, just the confidence, the man shines. It just oozes with confidence. Do you know what I mean? And I think he's done a lot for hip hop as well. And as well as that, he's one guy that I know, like Big Daddy Kane, like when he takes to the stage, his whole life is on that stage.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like these guys can perform.
He put some effort in. He definitely does.
I learned a lot from them. Yeah. And he knows how to get the crowd involved,
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what I respect them for, all of that kind of stuff.
What's your favorite album, John?
See, it would take me, I don't know, because he's one of them artists, there's always some absolute classics on every album, but he's one of them artists which I don't think I can listen to from start to finish a whole album, right, apart from possibly Criminal Minded.
Yeah, Criminal Minded, sorry, that's the one I was thinking. Criminal Minded.
Criminal Minded is the first one, because remember, we're talking about KRS-One here, not BDP. So
I know, that's why I was thinking. So
obviously BDP, and the one you're talking about, Philosophy, is not Philosophy. It's By Any Means Necessary.
By Any Means Necessary. Yes. Right. Yeah. See, this is what I'm saying. I have not looked at my records for 12 years, so I've forgotten loads of, what I was saying about I've forgotten titles and everything. Yeah. So there you go. Yeah, By Any Means Necessary. And I'll tell you what I did as a joke many years ago as well, off the back of that, right? Because you know how he's on the front cover with the gun and everything.
Yeah.
The Malcolm X
thing,
right? Yeah, the Malcolm X thing.
Yeah.
So, I looked at that cover and I was like, yeah, that's funny. So my friend was right at my place in New Cross, and I sent him around to the chicken shop to buy some chicken. When he came back, I got my friend to take a photo, but I can't find that photo anywhere. Anyway, I'm standing at the window looking through the curtain with my ketchup in my hand.
For me, I would probably say favorite.
And it was By Any Means Necessary.
By Any Means Necessary, or I don't know, because I've got the 3 albums. So it was By Any Means Necessary, Get the Music, and Edutainment. Those are the 3 albums that I love by him. Those 3 albums. Then after that, when he went into Sex and Violence, and he did that one where it was like a gospel one. Couldn't stand it. I don't know that one.
See, I like the album KRS-One as well with the orange cover.
Yes.
I like that one.
Yeah.
But once again, it's one of them albums. You can't listen to every track. You've got to skip it, I think.
Yeah. But for me, By Any Means Necessary, that's the one I meant.
Yeah.
But that said, there are certain tracks off of the first album that I just thought were just ridiculous. You know what I mean? Dope beat and
but I think the trouble for me was off that first Boogie Down Productions album, the Criminal Minded one, is it hasn't dated very well. It's sort of like I can't really listen to it that much now. It just feels a bit boring. I loved it at the time. I played it nonstop. Maybe it's a second.
Well, I haven't experienced that yet because I don't have vinyl anymore. I got rid of everything, so I'm not fortunate like you to be able to go. That's dated well or not.
Yeah.
I mean, it's.
I've got no vinyl
but
left.
Put it this way. So I mean, look. I mean, the thing is, I parted with all the records, and if I mean, don't get me wrong, they mean a lot to me, and they meant a lot to me. But at some point in my life, I had to decide that the space was more important than the records that I haven't played for 10 years.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, but that doesn't mean that I like the music any less. It just means that I know it's in the back of my head, and I don't really need to listen to it every 5 minutes. And having my kids looking at me like some weirdo. You know what I mean?
Okay, we're coming to the end now. On behalf of me and the rest of the Vinyl Vandals, I'm sure John can speak for himself, but and everybody who tunes into this, all 10 of us that tune into this show, but I'm sure there'll be a lot more than 10 because you're on. Thanks very much for giving us your time. I know your time is precious.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
So thanks for that. Have you got any last words? I've got a question before that. We're talking about what you've done. You've talked about some of your history and how that intertwines with other people's history, from America to US, from America to the UK. What's the future for Blade? I know you've said that you've retired. I'm sure you must have absolutely loads of stuff still to release. Will there ever be a greatest hits, sort of like the unreleased tracks type of album? Have you ever thought about that? Can we tease you to tempt you to do that? Please. Will there be a film or a book? Because I think there's a lot of stories in you that should come out that people need to hear, I think, as well. Over to you. What is the future?
Well, I don't think there'll ever be a film, but if someone in Newcastle comes forward and decides to make a film, maybe we can do it then.
I'm saying to my son now, who's just finished university for filmmaking, me and you, Ash, I need to have a conversation because we need to make Blade's film.
Okay.
You
didn't even catch what I said. I said I doubt there will be a film, but there might be a film.
Well, we've heard that a million times. Everybody always laughs at that, but we say it correctly. Don't worry about that. We talk properly. Don't worry about that.
No, I mean, look. The thing is, I've got loads of unreleased stuff that's just sitting there in demo stages, and I don't even want to complete them. I might just send it to No Steve Nigel and get him to just EQ it and master it as it is, even if it's messy and it's all over the place and it's my vocals are low, my beats are high, whatever, and just get him to add a little bit more togetherness to it, and then I might just put it on socials. But I got no intention of releasing anything. I've got other projects that I'm working on, so my focus really is the other projects that I'm trying to do, which at the moment I don't want to say too much just yet. But yeah,
but I suppose for us, obviously as fans, we, I know people say we're old and all of that, and the young ones always laugh when I speak about this, but I'm not a one that, young people can have what they want, and they want all that new stuff. That's great, they can have it. Those dudes running around with funny coloured hair and that, they can have all of that. But we still need, to add to our collection. We still need some of you dudes to still be releasing some of your stuff that you have got hidden in your lockers, because we still need to hear some of that old stuff that we loved in the first place. So, please, on behalf of everybody that I know, please bring some stuff out. And also, my other question would be, not just about releasing some of your old stuff that you've got in your locker, but have you ever thought about doing sort of like, you know, how you've just talked about some of those UK artists? Have you ever thought about doing a sort of, I don't know what you would call it, but like a sort of, what am I trying to say, John? Like a Friends of Blade, you know, like a.
Oh, I see what you mean.
Yeah, like
I don't know. I mean, the thing is, I just feel like the scene here, like as long as people understand what we're doing is for the love of it, then I think we can achieve it. Then I think we can achieve a lot.
Yeah.
In terms of that, but at the same time, there's, you know, when you're talking to people, there's still people out there that maybe feel like, you know, there's some kind of a career and, you know, wires get crossed and people. So for me, it's too much drama. You know what I mean? I just, you know, I just want to make music for the hell of making music, and there's no strings attached. You know.
I get that. I suppose for me, though, it's what I'm trying to say is that there's quite a few of you. You've mentioned some of the names, and there's some that I haven't mentioned. And actually, all the ones you picked for the UK, for instance, are all in London. But there's people outside of London that we haven't mentioned. So, you know, I'm going to mention people like the Crispy Three. I'm going to mention the London, the Ruthless Rap Assassins. You know, there's other people outside of that, sort of like outside of the London ring, that also need to mention as well. I would love, you know how there's a Gods of Rap? I'd love a UK Gods of Rap.
Yep.
You know what I mean? You know, your Cookie Crews, your Overlord X's, your MC Jukes, your Ruthless Rap Assassins, your Crispy Threes, to your London Posses, to your Caveman, to your Silver Bullets, to your MCD, to your Black Twang, to your Black Radical Mark II. I'd love to just, you know, have some albums with just some of them on, doing a one-off.
You've mentioned, you've mentioned some amazing names there. Like, you know, like, I mean, like for me, like there's a lot of artists there that you mentioned that I'm just like, yo, they're sick. But we have to just say, like, you mentioned Black Twang just now.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, his body of work is ridiculous as well.
Yeah.
Like, he's got some next level of body of work. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's, you know, the only reason why I didn't mention Black Twang, I mean, and I would have mentioned him for his body of work at least. You know what I mean? It's just basically because I come from a different era, which is slightly earlier than when he turned up.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to, you know, document the stuff that was a bit earlier. Do you know what I mean?
That's right.
Yeah, you can't mention Black Twang as well, because, like I said, his body of work is ridiculous.
The trouble is, as well, is when you try and do it, I've just done my favourite 5 UK, and you can't have them all on when it's only 5. So there is going to be people who miss, but there's people on there that I could have had on and I would have had on, and I could literally have about 4 or 5 top 5s. Do you know what I mean? Lumps of groups. But like you said, you can only have.
Yeah, because you like everyone. You like everyone for different reasons.
Yeah,
and the thing is, now we're in the situation that we're talking. It's like when I'm explaining to you why I like everyone. Pretty much everyone I like because they had a certain energy about them. So all of them is like I like them because they had an energy.
Yeah.
So I like them all for the same reasons. Weird.
Yeah.
My battery's about to die. My battery's about to die.
Okay. Well, we'll wrap up then. Is there anything you want to say, John?
No, just thank you for coming to join us. I remember when I met you first time, it was about 3 years ago at the Bridge Festival in Gateshead when you did the tour. And literally just before you went on, you were walking along the main concourse. And I must have been chatting for about 10, 15 minutes. I thought, what a mint look. I mean, love your music, and you're just a general all-round nice guy. And thank you for taking time to come speak to us again. So.
Oh no, thanks, man. It's like you know, I've always said it. Newcastle has been one of my favorite areas anyway, and I genuinely find the people in Newcastle always really cool. You know what I mean? Like one of my favorite people that I know as a fan of mine in the early days, and he was really helpful throughout. And the other day when we were talking about sending some records down, I said check with him as well. I have to say Eddie Parkin, you know, Rayla, you know, he's one of the best guys I met through, like, not just through Newcastle, but through the entire scene, just Europe, everywhere, you know. And I've spoken to people all over the world, you know, from your Japans to your Australias and wherever. But yeah, you know, I've got like a lot of fond memories of Newcastle, from the people that I met there to the performances, you know, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, just Newcastle is like probably second or third home to me.
Nice one. Nice.
But you're welcome anytime you want to come back up. So
always welcome. Always
Thanks,
welcome,
man.
Newcastle. Yeah. So
Good. Thanks.
on behalf of me, Vinyl Vandals, there's a couple of things to say before we go. Thank you, Blade, for giving us your time, because we know that it's precious. Your time is money, as they say. So thanks for blessing us with this. Thank you for everybody who tunes in. Shout out to the Vinyl Vandals, because we do this for the love of it. We don't do this for money. We don't do this for fame. We just do it because we love doing it. It's helped us through COVID. With these lockdown sessions, they're called the Favourite 5. This is a special, so it's not necessarily a Favourite 5 because he's picked Favourite 10. 5 from the UK and 5 from the USA. But it's about also helping us with our mental health. And I always push that agenda. Men need to talk to men a lot more. They don't. We suffer in silence a lot of the time. So, if you need to talk, find someone who you can talk to. If you haven't got anybody to talk to, you definitely can talk to us. We'll try and help you. But remember, put music on. And talking about music, hip-hop music, every Monday night, our man, DJ Riddler, has a show on Try Radio. He has a Vinyl Vandals show from 8 till 9, okay? It's Sunday today at the moment, so he'll be on tomorrow night. Tune in, it's on Try Radio. Try Radio is on the MixLR app, so you can get that on your phone, you can get it on your tablet, you can get it on your laptop.
Facebook, it's linked on Facebook as well.
Linked on Facebook as well, thanks John. Just get into it, Try Radio. It's the future.
Actually, now that you mentioned it, I knew it was someone I've forgotten. I'm thinking, who was it? And you said it there, Riddler. Riddler's another guy. When I was like talking to Rayla back in the days, Riddler was always there as well. So yeah, big up Riddler as well for that.
Nice
one. Wicked. Thanks for reminding me. So I'm there thinking, I swear there was one other person. Yeah. And we spoke about this the other day, but when you're in the middle of something, you just forget.
There's a cast of thousands. Sandy as well. Shout out to Sandy.
Yeah, Sandy as well. Wicked. Yeah. I only met Sandy recently, but what a bloke. You know what I mean? And I'm envious of all the burgers he eats.
On that note, see you everybody.
Take care. Peace.
Cheers, man. See you later.
Bye.